One day, when he opened his eyes, he found himself isekai'd into a medieval fantasy world, with no clue how he even got there, just to survive. He ended up becoming a mercenary. He slashed through enemies, slashing and killing over and over just to stay alive. Suddenly, from within the crowd, a piercing, high-pitched scream rang out. A girl in warrior's armor was riding on the back of a war horse. Raising her sword high to the sky, she shouted, "Focus up. If you drop your guard, you're dead in a heartbeat. Don't lose your focus on the battlefield, not even for a split second. Blow the horn now." Seeing the commander's order, a soldier wearing a full hood held a war horn and blew his heart out, and with a heroic musical medley, as if they were newly empowered, cheers began to erupt one after another. All forces go all out on the attack. Everything I long for in this world right now is just to stay alive. Suddenly a girl approached him, still holding a sword in her hand, stained with the blood of the enemy. She said to him, "Once again you've survived." Then she stepped closer, showing endless care for him. She reached out her hand to wipe away the remaining bloodstains on his face. Then she hugged him tight and said, "Let me see. As long as this handsome face isn't hurt, then everything is perfectly fine." He stood there in a daze, staring into the distance, his face full of exhaustion and a hint of sadness. She looked up at him and called him Aaron. "Aaron, you know, I really love the rain. When the war is over, let's head east together, because it rains a lot there. Don't forget me, okay?" Scene changes to another place. Aaron is leaning against a wall, his hand constantly reaching out to catch the falling raindrops. With a face showing clear sorrow, he whispered, "The rain is getting heavier." Cutting through that gloomy and poetic atmosphere was a loud whistle from some guy with a face full of facial hair. At the same time, the loud shouts of some soldiers echoed from over there. "Hey, what the hell are you doing? Is this idiot not planning to run? We have to catch them before they escape from the castle." "Got it." Suddenly, two men came running breathlessly. As they spotted Aaron, they hurriedly called out from afar, "Captain, Captain." Seeing the two running toward him, Aaron quickly asked, "There you are, what about the others?" The long-haired man replied, "They'll be here soon." But seriously, who would have guessed that guy Han would cause such a massive disaster? The guy with the undercut made a face, full of resentment, and snapped back. "Humph, from the very beginning. I always felt he was a total pain in the neck. Hunt that bastard. He's a warlock. You can't just trust a mage you've only just met. He must have made a deal with the devil." Hearing that, Aaron suddenly found it hard to believe. He thought to himself, "The devil?" The long-haired guy put on an angry expression, pointed at the undercut guy and yelled, "You lowlife, stop using the devil as an excuse. You're just salty because of Han, all because you let the big spender title slip away into his hands." The undercut guy got defensive and went full keyboard warrior mode, snapping back, "What the hell? Who's stealing whose title?" The long-haired guy kept pointing his finger with a smug tone, right from the start. "Nobody even called you the big spender anyway, right?" Seeing the two of them bickering, like two kids fighting over a piece of cake, Aaron left with a look of pure exhaustion on his face. Surprised by Aaron's sudden move, the two watched him walk away, completely dazed. The undercut guy quickly shouted out, "Huh? Where are you going, Captain?" Aaron indifferently replied, "I'm out. Do I have to report my every move to you guys or what?" Headquarters. After a bit of back-and-forth bickering, the long-haired guy turned to make peace. "Oh, by the way, Han's nickname, it's officially changed from now on, okay? Look at Han. Even if he's just a talking head now, he's still a total snack." The undercut guy glanced over with a completely bewildered look, clueless as to what was going on. Then both of them burst out laughing like there was no tomorrow, a laugh full of sheer delight. Aaron looked back for a split second, completely speechless. After walking for a bit, Aaron suddenly became lost in thought. If we catch him, he'll probably end up on the gallows for sure. Scene cuts to the command headquarters. The outer fortress guard unit was there. Kasserich approached the door. Aaron lightly knocked on it a few times, and then stepped inside. Standing before him was the captain of the outer fortress guards, Cassius Manuel. As soon as he saw Aaron's silhouette approaching, he spoke with a sharp, stern tone. "Isn't it getting a bit late for this, Captain Aaron?" Aaron calmly replied, "I'm a little late because I was sleeping like a baby." Hearing the blatant sarcasm, Cassius sighed. Resting his chin on his hand, he glared grumpily at Aaron and asked, "By the way, I heard you were pretty tight with that criminal Han, right?" Aaron froze for a second, thinking to himself, "In a way, that's true. Han is a smart kid. Being that brilliant at such a young age is definitely not normal. We were close enough since he started at the Magic Academy." Snapping out of his thoughts, Aaron put on an innocent face and replied, "Oh no, he was just another face in the crowd. We were just on high and by terms." Then an idea flashed through his mind. Better to lie than to speak up. Telling the truth will only make things messier. Hearing the answer he wanted to hear, he hurriedly continued, then that's a relief. This incident, it's not just some simple crime. It even involves the daughter of the castle lord himself. He stole something he definitely shouldn't have touched. The situation is critical. Just think right now, if the Kasardric Guard unit catches that criminal, imagine how pleased the Lord would be. As soon as he finished speaking, he put on a smug, gloating expression, spreading his arms wide and laughing mockingly. After a moment of gloating, his face turned unusually stern. He lowered his voice and said to Aaron, "You get what I'm saying, right? Go catch him now, dead or alive, I don't care." Aaron, looking thoughtful, replied, "Yes, sir, I'll do my best." After leaving the room, Aaron walked down the hallway in a daze, his mind racing with intrusive thoughts. This mess even involves the Lord. This is going to be a huge pain in the neck. Because of that damn Han, I almost ended up in deep trouble myself. Nearly lost my head. Cutting through his thoughts, a shout came from a distance, "Captain of the 4th Outer Fortress Guard Unit. The Kasardric unit is ready." On a certain street, the rain was still pouring down heavily. The undercut guy looked up at the sky, muttering his thoughts aloud. Even if those wizards are completely out of their minds, would he really be hiding in this tiny, filthy District 7 area? The long-haired guy agreed and replied, "True, plus that brat's got a weak stomach." The rest of the men started buzzing with chatter. "We don't want to hang around District 7. The toilets here are trash and we're getting soaked. It smells so bad. How about we just pretend to look for him, and then go somewhere else for a few beers?" The stream of ridiculous comments from his subordinates gave Aaron a lot to think about. Aaron glanced back, his eyes glowing with a faint purple hue. Cutting off the chatter, he shouted in pure frustration, "Shut your traps right now." Then, with a face full of utter disappointment, he muttered, "Seriously, these ancient Europeans are so clueless. Their heads are practically on the chopping block. Yet all they can think about is booze and chasing tail. But man, this place really is a dump." Suddenly, he spotted a figure up ahead, huddled against a corner wall. He slowly approached the person and called out, "Hey kid, you in the brown hood over there. This is the Outer Fortress Guard unit. Do me a favor and take off that hood for a second." His hand instinctively reached for his sword, bracing himself in case things went south. The man slowly pulled back his hood, wearing a smug grin as he spoke. "Ah, long time no see. To think we'd finally cross paths here." Before him stood a man with a completely bald head and scruffy stubble, giving Aaron quite a shock. Suddenly, the man's expression turned incredibly creepy as he let out a series of bizarre chuckles. Aaron couldn't take it anymore and lashed out with his hands and feet, getting physical with the guy. The impact sent the man tumbling backward. Aaron glared at him with pure resentment and barked, "You bastard, you just love causing trouble to get caught, don't you? What a perfect time." The man clutched his face, crying out in total confusion, "I don't know anything. Who even are you?" "I'm just a guy who raises and sells bird feed in this alley. I was just about to tell you that there's been a robbery." Aaron, looking completely awkward and embarrassed, quickly replied, "Oh, Henry, you just looked so familiar." Clutching his aching face, the man wailed in pain. "I certainly didn't expect a reaction like that. Why are you suddenly hitting people and causing such a ruckus? What is wrong with you? Damn it, what a terrible day. First a thief takes all my medicinal herbs, and then a guard beats me up. But seriously, why was that thief in such a rush to steal heat-ache plants? They aren't even hard to find. The hill behind town is covered in them." Hearing this crucial piece of information, a glimmer of hope sparked in Aaron's eyes. He hurriedly looked toward him, interrupting, "Wait, heat-ache leaves are used to stop bleeding." "So that herb thief, where did he run off to?" In a dark corner somewhere, a man was huddling, shivering under the rain. His face was pale, and his arm wouldn't stop bleeding. He let out groans of pure agony. A loud voice called out his name, "Han." He jumped in fright, his eyes filled with absolute panic. Aaron loomed over him like a shadow. His sword was already unsheathed, resting on his shoulder. Looking at Han's missing arm, he asked in a soft tone, "Why do you look so pathetic? You were always the guy who kept everything pristine. Yet here you are, such a hot mess, that you went and lost your own arm. Well, it's over. While I'm still trying to play nice and talk this out, just come with me." Han paused, thinking to himself, "It's not over yet, Aaron." Then he began to mutter some sort of incantation. A moment later, he raised his hand. Swirling vortexes appeared around him, and water gradually began to envelop his body. Aaron's face darkened with anger. He thought, magic. This power is insane. Is it because of the rain? Han stole a glance at Aaron, his face etched with guilt as he spoke. "I'm so sorry, brother. But I can't let you take me in right now." After that, the water vortexes slowly lifted him into the air. Aaron was stunned, only able to look up and watch. A moment later, a sphere of light emitted powerful beams of radiance, forcing Aaron to shield his eyes with his hand. Han's mind was racing now. Not yet, it's not over yet. Han continued to recite more incantations. The water sphere grew larger and larger. The vortexes expanded along with his arm. A magic circle was now spinning around them. The sheer force of the power forced Eren down to his knees. His hands were braced against the ground as thoughts raced through his mind. He's using water magic on a rainy day? What a pain in the neck for such a coincidence. If that's how it is, then I'm all in. Eren let out a long sigh, preparing himself. Then his face gradually turned a mysterious dark shade. His eyes went white save for 2 blood-red dots. With a phantom step, he teleported after him at breakneck speed. Han hurriedly turned back to look, his face filled with panic and terror. He kept reaching out, chanting his spells. His mind was screaming at him, "Hurry up!" Eren was closing in fast. He was now completely shrouded in waves of pure killing intent. He didn't forget to bark out, "Would you just shut your damn mouth for me?" Immediately, he swung his sword, leaving trails of light, stretching for 10 meters. It struck Han right in the neck. With a look of sheer horror, tears began to stream down his face. Han sat slumped against a wall, gasping for air. The wound on his neck was still bleeding out. He looked up, hoping for a miracle, his entire body trembling violently. With a face full of agony, he looked at Eren and asked, Will you spare my life, brother?" Eren looked down at him, speaking with a tone full of suspicion. "I heard you made a pact with a demon, and if that's true, a scar should appear near your heart." Eren Sippus knelt down in front of him, grabbing his collar in frustration. He hurriedly yanked up Han's shirt, but there was nothing there. He pressed Han further. "Why would you pull something like this when you aren't even a demon's subordinate?" Han lowered his head slightly, his eyes clouded with deep sorrow. He looked at Eren and replied, "Even if I told you everything now, you still wouldn't understand. But one day you'll find out the reason why." Suddenly, a commotion could be heard from not far away. "Check this area again." Eren couldn't help but overthink the situation. He propped his head on his hand, looking utterly exhausted as he blurted out, "Damn it, this is driving me crazy." A moment later, having decided on his next move, Eren grabbed the boy by his shirt and hauled him up. With his other hand, he uncapped a vial of some liquid. Without a second thought, he poured the potion directly onto Han's mangled arm. He turned to him and said, "It's a healing potion. Stop being weird and just follow me." He walked over to a corner, flipping through some wooden planks. He kicked at the floor below, looking visibly annoyed, while his mind continued to wander. "I wonder if losing an arm is enough of a punishment for theft. Unfortunately, that choice isn't up to me, because in this damn medieval age, you're either innocent or you're swinging from a gallows." Suddenly, he spotted something underneath. A small crawl space began to reveal itself before him. He stared blankly for a moment, looked down at the hole, and decided to tell Han, "Get lost." Han looked up at him, his face full of gratitude, and said, "Thank you so much." Eren immediately punched him, sending him sprawling. With a face full of lethal intent, he growled, "Don't you dare call me brother ever again. Just get out of here, Han." Dragging his broken body and clutching what remained of his arm, he slowly crawled into the hole. He didn't forget to look back, tears streaming down his face as he thanked him one last time. At that moment, the shouts of the guards began to echo nearby. Getting closer. This is the only spot left. Search every nook and cranny. And Han had completely vanished from the small fortress on the eastern front. Cassius Rick, huh? Scene changed to a certain castle. A young girl in the prime of her youth, with a radiant, innocent face, was carrying a laundry basket with a happy expression. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind blew in, giving her quite a start. She looked on in a daze as a pair of panties was swept up into the sky by the wind. In this medieval world, hygiene, law, and ethics are barely a step above the Stone Age, and he is a guard captain in that godforsaken chaotic world. The scene shifts elsewhere, where a clenched fist slams onto the table with a loud bang. A long-haired guy looking grumpy screams, "Damn it! That Han kid is hiding like a goddamn coward. Just where the hell could he have gone?" 4th Squad Cassandra Outpost Guard. The handsome man from before, Kale, rests his head on his hand with a dangerous glint in his eyes. Unbelievable. "We searched all over the Cassandra Outpost and still couldn't find a trace of him. That kid Han is actually pretty slick, isn't he?" 4th Squad Custric Outpost Guard. The rookie Breg pipes up with an innocent look. "That kid is a wizard, right? Is it possible he used magic to make his escape?" 4th Squad Custric Outpost Guard. Bun, looking irritable, snaps at him. "Don't be stupid, Breg. If magic could solve everything, why the hell would we even carry weapons?" 4th Squad Guard Unit. Sleep-deprived Custaric Outpost. Custer slumps onto the table, muttering, "Quiet. Please just shut up for a second. The total amount of sleep I've had in 3 days is less than 5 hours. I'm exhausted." I feel like I'm literally about to drop dead. The long-haired guy sighs in frustration, being sarcastic. You won't die from a little lack of sleep. Bun glares at Custer with a scowl, his words dripping with cold intent. No, this guy is definitely going to die. Kale immediately jumps in. Yep, he's a goner for sure. The rookie Breg still blurts out in confusion. Wait, are we talking about Custer while Bun continues to trash-talk him? Yesterday, he was so sleep-deprived he was puking his guts out everywhere. 4th Squad Custeric Outpost Guard. Second in command is that long-haired guy, the reserve brother. Wang Min speaks up with a stern expression. Regardless, the search is over. For now, everyone needs to get some rest and recover. Seeing Wang Min's smug face, Kale immediately turned around and pointed at him, saying, Hey you, what's with the main character energy? It's just second place. At that moment, Aaron was in a certain room, one that looked like an interrogation room. A voice rang out, Outer City Guard of Custeric 4th Squad, Captain of the 4th Squad. Aaron, right? Before him stood a man, whose hands were busy quickly lighting a cigar. He was a man with slicked-back blonde hair, possessing a very tough look puffing away on the cigar in his hand. With an extremely stern tone, he continued, Nice to meet you, I'm William. Looking at the man in front of him, Aaron couldn't help but think, It's Grand Marshal William, the man who could have my head with just a word, or rot me in prison forever. The head of the Cassius Rick Defense Force. He looked at Aaron with a deep scowl, staring intensely at him before asking, I heard you're very close with the criminal Han. Furthermore, you were the one who continued patrolling the last remaining area of District 7. All by yourself, yet you found absolutely nothing. Right after that question, his expression turned incredibly menacing. A glowing red, murderous intent began to manifest around him. Then came a rapid succession of follow-up questions. Coincidentally, in that area, the inner city guards were unable to enter and investigate. You let him go, didn't you? Inside, Aaron was terrified. But he tried to act cool and replied, There was nothing there but crap. Do you have any proof, sir? After that, he turned his head and addressed the fat guy, the Outer City Guard commander, making the fat man jump so hard that his wig flew off as he answered yes. Looking at the cigar box on the table, he continued, The cigar box you gave me is excellent. Did you really buy such a luxury on your meager salary? Or did you steal it or embezzle the funds? The fat man's face was filled with absolute terror. Beads of sweat were constantly streaming down his face. Trembling, he replied, That's a very distant relative gave it to me, sir. He looked at the shivering fat man and continued, Listen very carefully to what I say. Anyone in this citadel who commits a crime or is an accomplice, they will all die by my hand. Immediately after, he turned toward Aaron. His hand forcefully ground the burning cigar into Aaron. With a face full of murderous intent, he spat out a threat. You'd better engrave those words in your heart. Aaron forced a laugh, responding to him with a totally fake tone. Yes, I'll definitely keep that in mind. By now, it was late afternoon. The sunlight was fading, casting a poetic sunset glow across the scene. Aaron walked out slowly, looking deeply troubled. Kale and Vermin didn't forget to bow to their captain. Taking long strides through the streets, Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. Only now did he dare to speak calmly. Ugh, this damn medieval era. They have no idea what human rights are. How much longer is this investigation going to take? Suddenly, he put his hand to his head, thinking to himself, That kid Han, it looks like he managed to escape. Suddenly, his attention was caught by some strange noises coming from the Rabbit Inn up ahead. He stood there curious about what was going on. Inside, at that moment, some tattooed thug was acting vulgar and harassing a young woman. She hurriedly shouted, What the hell do you think you're doing? He gave a sleazy grin and replied, This innkeeper is just too beautiful. It would be such a waste to do nothing right. She was indeed the owner of the Laughing Rabbit Inn. Henna, her face flushed with anger, yelled, Stop it, let go of me. Suddenly, the voice of a red-haired man sitting nearby rang out. Hey, I told you to be gentle with the ladies. The tattooed man quickly turned to look at him. With an annoyed face, he barked. Hey, hearing his name called, Dylan quickly turned around and gestured toward the tattooed guy, saying sarcastically, You're making this lady misunderstand your intentions. It's just been a long time since we've been back to this village, so we're just trying to make friends with some locals. And it'd be even better if we could be overnight friends, you know. Right after that, he put on a face no different from the tattooed thug, constantly winking suggestively at her. Henna let out a sigh and spoke with a warning tone. You guys look like mercenaries from another country. If you keep this up, you're going to be in some real trouble. Just stop before you regret it. As soon as she finished her sentence, the lackeys around them looked excited and burst out laughing, Ha ha! Immediately, a hand slammed hard onto the table. Dylan stood up aggressively as Henna jumped in shock. He growled at her. And if I don't want to, then what? What are you gonna do about it? He approached her with a dark look and continued. Oh, you think some city guard is gonna show up for you? No way those guys are coming to handle business. At a dumpy inn, in the middle of nowhere, his wandering hands kept reaching for the hills and mountains in front of him. Suddenly the door swung open. Someone was walking in, as if seeing a ray of hope. Her eyes lit up and her face brightened instantly. The old patrons at the next table also sat wide-mouthed, stunned by the person's arrival. It was Aaron, our main man. Seeing him enter, every single thug stood up with a hostile look. The tattooed guy marched toward him, making Henna scared, so she scurried behind Aaron to hide. Aaron calmly turned to Henna and said 10 days. Henna quickly replied, 5 days, that's less than last time. Besides, you're a city guard. Since when? Wasn't this your job? Aaron bargained, then 9 days. The captain of the guard is off the clock, Henna replied with a playful smirk. 6 days, that's my final offer. The conversation between the two left that group of thugs clueless about what was happening, standing there looking like total idiots. Dylan's face contorted with rage, eyes bulging and teeth grinding loudly. A glowing red aura of murderous intent radiated from him. He yelled out aggressively, "You nobodies, how dare you ignore us?" Right after those words, the tattooed thug charged forward in a frenzy. Aaron, with a look of pure annoyance and a fist charged with lethal intent, completely ignored the attack. He turned back to Henna to continue bargaining. Then how about 8 days? A hand shot out with lightning speed, clutching the tattooed man's face, making him groan in agony. Aaron glared at him and said, "You really can't fix that trashy mouth. You medieval lowlife. Henna, 6 days stay and free dinner tonight. Is it a deal?" Henna laughed heartily and gave a thumbs up. "Deal, it's a deal." Then Aaron turned back to the thugs and growled, "All right, now it's time to teach you medieval punks a real lesson." He then tightened his grip on the tattooed man's face, causing him immense pain. As he cried out in agony, he then threw him several meters away. By now, Aaron's entire face was shrouded in a mysterious shadow, with a brilliant white light glowing from one eye. Standing there like a true beast of the undead, he was surrounded by violent ripples of vibrant pink murderous intent. Seeing Aaron's current state, Dylan's face was filled with sheer terror. Cold sweat poured down his back. The men at the nearby table let out eerie grins, thinking to themselves that things were about to get interesting. A voice overflowing with bloodlust spoke, "There are no bad medieval people, just medieval people who need a better beating. With every punch you take to the face, you'll just end up becoming a lot more polite." In a flash, a devastating punch slammed right into Dylan's face, instantly disfiguring it. This was followed by a series of shadowless kicks straight to Dylan's chest. Finally, a final blow left Dylan flattened against the floor. Witnessing that exhilarating scene, the old guys cheered and gloated incessantly. Classic Aaron. We've been waiting for these punks to get theirs for a long time. Henna, another round for us. The reason so many people are regulars at the Laughing Rabbit Inn is because a monster lives there. The greatest cleaner in Kasserek, the mad captain of the guard Aaron. They all follow this mad captain of the guard. Then a continuous stream of shouts and cheers erupted from the patrons, echoing through the air. "Beat the crap out of him. Hit him again, Aaron." He cast an annoyed glance back at them, thinking to himself, "Those guys are at it again. I really should teach them a lesson one of these days, too." While Aaron was distracted, Dylan quickly reached for his waist, slowly pulling something out. With his protagonist's intuition, Aaron immediately guessed Dylan's intention. He glared down at Dylan and growled, "Hey, you planning to pull an axe out and flex on me?" Dylan raised both hands above his head, grinning innocently as he replied, "No, not at all." After wrestling with that crowd for a while, finally, the captain of the 4th Squad Outpost Guard of Fortress, Kasserek Aaron, had successfully clocked out. In a certain room, at this moment, moonlight was filtering through the window panes. On a spacious and cozy bed, Aaron was sleeping soundly. Due to the nature of his work, as well as his professional habits, his sword was always kept ready for battle right at his bedside. A dream of a flaming battlefield suddenly flashed through his mind. Words echoed in his ears. "He doesn't have a name. Then let's call him Aroni." A girl dressed in warrior's attire kept calling out to him, "Aaron, run quickly. Don't look back, you have to keep living, Aaron." He bolted upright in bed, grabbing the sword at his bedside and unsheathing it. Waking up from the trance, his eyes were full of panic. Tears welled up unconsciously, mixing with the heavy sweat dripping down his face. The next morning, his hand was gripping the sword tightly. He gently raised the blade in front of his eyes. He thought to himself, "It's been 6 years since I fell into this world. How much longer can I keep up this daily routine?" Interrupting his train of thought, a young man's voice called out from behind him, That sword is quite plain with no decorations. I had no idea someone so skilled was here in Kasryk. I'm genuinely surprised. Then the stranger put on a smug face, while clapping his hands mockingly. Aaron turned to look at him and sighed, his mind racing with suspicious thoughts. Armor with the Fenner family crest, and a spiral-patterned hilt. Is this punk a knight? Knights were elites capable of manipulating aura to fight demons, pushing past human limits, the true blades of humanity. If he's a kid from House Fenner, then this guy must be a knight from Bonza Fortress. Even so, why would someone like him bother coming all the way to Kasryk? Could the Empire have sent him? Seeing him eyeing the sword in his hand, the young man caught on and put on a friendly face, waving his hands in front of him with a laugh, saying, "Whoa, no need to be on guard. It's just that your swordsmanship is so fascinating." I couldn't help but stare. By the way, are you a knight from some order? Ben was interrupted mid-conversation. The voice of a blonde girl called out, "Ben, so this is where you've been hiding. You're my guard, yet you leave me all alone." Both men turned around in surprise. She was the only daughter of House Fullfoot, the ruling family of Kasryk. Vivienne Fullfoot stepped up to Aaron. Vivienne said with an air of surprise, "Oh my, were the two of you in the middle of a chat? Pardon me for cutting in." Aaron quickly knelt before Vivienne and replied, "I am Aaron, a member of the 4th Outpost Guard Squad. Greetings to the Lady of Kasryk." Vivienne let out a delighted laugh and exclaimed, "Well, well, a pleasure to meet you, Captain Aaron. I heard you went through a lot of trouble over my undergarments last time. I'm truly sorry about that, even though I said it was fine. My father still made a big deal out of it." Aaron replied, "It's no problem at all." Then he suddenly wondered to himself, why is Lady Vivienne being escorted by a knight from Bonza Fortress? Vivienne quickly pulled Ben away. Under his bewildered gaze, she didn't forget to toss a few words back at Aaron. "Well, we'll be off now. It seems Sir Ben has interrupted your training session. Captain Aaron, keep up the good work protecting the security of Kasryk Fortress." Ben cast a lazy glance back at Aaron. Aaron wondered, is he just a member of her personal guard? Strange, I'm certain that guy is a knight. As he watched them leave, Aaron looked deeply pensive. He then thought, well, I do smell a bit fishy, but it's none of my business. Time to work. As soon as he arrived, he was met with a furious face. A mouth hung wide open, screaming at the top of its lungs. The yell was so loud it made Aaron's world go dark. Sweat dripped heavily down his face. He blurted out, "Wait, what the hell just happened?" In this medieval world, there aren't exactly any turn signals to follow. Scene changes to the inner fortress of Kasryk. At this moment, Aaron stood dazed in front of a room door. He couldn't stop replaying the commander's words in his head. "Have you lost your damn mind, you bastard? I told you to be careful about who you pick a fight with. And yet, you turned the inner fortress mercenaries into total corpses, huh? Go fix this mess yourself before you dare show your face here again." He never imagined those thugs were actually mercenaries hired by the inner fortress, and basically government officials on top of that. Snapping out of his thoughts, he nervously reached out to knock on the door. Before he could even land a second knock, a powerful voice barked, "Enter!" He walked in to find a woman, sitting at her desk with a deep frown. Aaron quickly asked, "Did you call for me, Nova?" Hearing him, she abruptly stopped writing, her face contorted with rage. The fire of anger in her eyes flared up, radiating an incredibly intense, murderous aura. She growled in response, "Is that you, Aaron? What kind of guard captain? Causes trouble 24/7, huh? If you feel like this job isn't for you, then hurry up and quit. Stop making life difficult for everyone else." She was the chief administrator of Kasryk Castle Nova. Aaron furrowed his brows and thought, classic Nova, the most talented administrator, but she's a total yapper. However, I've got a game plan this time. He recalled the words of the special instructor, none other than Squad 4's only eligible bachelor, Kale. Well, winning a woman's heart isn't hard at all. First, flash a gentle smile. Second, flatter her with a sweet, specific compliment. Aaron started putting it into practice immediately. He flashed a tender smile and softly called out Nova's name. Seeing his bizarre behavior, her eyes widened in complete shock. He then put on a total creep face and continued, "Today, your thick hair looks just like a perfectly ripe orange. It makes me want to take a bite right now." Startled and horrified, she thought to herself, has this guy seriously lost his mind? Snapping out of it, she pressed her palm against her forehead and said to Aaron with a heavy scowl, "Forget it. Dealing with you is just giving me a migraine. The mercenaries you took out yesterday were originally meant to be sent to Bonza Fortress." Seeing that his plan had worked, Aaron put on a smug, triumphant face. Waving his hands around dismissively, he replied, "Oh, really? But those guys were more like total trash than mercenaries. Even if I'd let them be, they would have just kept on with their nonsense. Aaron's smug attitude caused Nova to absolutely lose her cool. She barked, "Shut your trap." After a few seconds to regain her composure, she lowered her voice. "Look, since things have ended up like this, you'll have to take the place of those mercenaries. You don't have the right to refuse. I'll handle the compensation matters." "There, that settles your little mess." Aaron maintained his arrogant expression, stroking his stubble as he replied, "Fine by me. After all, it was my fault to begin with." "But what exactly is going on here?" She answered immediately. "A convoy escort." Scene shifts to elsewhere. It was already getting dark by this time. On a mountain path, a long line of wagons was being heavily guarded. Behind the third wagon, hidden in the crowd, Aaron looked suspicious and wondered, "Isn't this way too many people for just one escort mission? Plus, most of these guards seemed to be mercenaries. They looked as if they were bracing for an actual battle or some kind of major event. So why do I have such a bad feeling about this?" Not yet noticing Dylan's presence, Aaron slightly turned his head and asked, "Hey, who's driving this wagon?" Turning his face around, he finally realized who was behind him. He immediately blurted out, "What the you're that weasel from before?" Dylan looked completely panicked. He quickly raised his hands to shield himself, fearing he'd be attacked again. Then his face shifted to a look of anger. He switched to toxic mode and started snapping back. "Who are you calling a weasel? You're the real monster here. I'm way tougher than you think you know." Aaron rested his chin in his hand, looking skeptical and sarcastic. "I heard. Your buddies are still on life support. Your recovery seems better than your actual looks. Did I hit you less than the others, or what?" After those fighting words, Dylan immediately bowed his head submissively and replied, "You can call me Weasel if you want, big bro." Interrupting their conversation, Aaron was suddenly drawn to the voices of two mercenaries up ahead. "The sun's down. Are we setting up camp on the very first day? I heard we're staying in a small village nearby." Aaron wondered, a small village nearby? If it's that small village, then... Scene changes to the outskirts of Kasserek Nosetview village. Suddenly hushed whispers began to fill the air. "Hey, have you heard the news? They say the whole village is completely empty. Did they all just up and run away together?" "Probably. Surely it's not because of a bad harvest or anything like that." "Right," a hooded mercenary spoke in an ominous tone. "Could it be demons or something along those lines?" A long-haired guy nearby quickly cut him off. "Don't even joke about stuff like that." Dylan stood nearby looking confused. He then turned his gaze toward Aaron. Seeing Aaron preparing to head somewhere, Dylan ran over and asked, "Where are you going, big bro?" "Let's go together, big bro, Aaron." Inside the carriage, there was a girl wearing a blue stone around her neck. After walking a few steps, Dylan kept glancing around, observing the surroundings. Suddenly, he spoke up. "Wait a sec, big bro. We just set foot in this tiny village. But where exactly are you headed? Is there something fishy going down in this village? And seriously, where did all the villagers go?" Aaron didn't pay any attention to Dylan's words. He froze, suddenly recalling a memory, the image of him giving a book to a young boy. The boy was so happy he clutched it tightly in his hands. He replied with a joyful grin, "Whoa, is this really for me? Thank you, Mr. Knight. If you ever come to my village, don't forget to visit me, okay?" Suddenly, Dylan's foot stepped on something slimy on the ground. He jumped up in a panic and yelled out, What is this?" "Blood." At that moment, Aaron's expression turned grim and confused. He quickly said to Dylan, "Hey, Weasel kid, don't look up." Dylan seemed to catch on and hurriedly replied, "Yes, big bro." Just what on earth happened here? Before them was a truly horrifying scene. Corpses were hung one by one on wooden stakes. Despite the warning, the sheer brutality of the sight made Dylan turn pale as a ghost. Suddenly, a voice called Aaron's name from behind. Aaron jumped in surprise. He turned his head around. It was Lady Vivian. She looked bewildered and asked him, "Captain of the Kasserek Fortress Guard, what are you doing here?" Sensing that things were far from simple, Aaron frowned and asked her back in a low growl, "Why are you here, Lady Vivian?" Back with the escort convoy. Everyone was preparing for dinner. Hot bowls of soup were being served. Everyone was busy lining up, waiting for their turn. In the distance, Aaron and Dylan were still sitting blankly by the fire. The murmurs of the crowd rose up again. "This is the first time I've ever seen a stew with this much meat in it. If the food wasn't even good, I would have bailed a long time ago." Dylan quickly turned to Aaron with a complaining look. "These guys seem way too chill, don't they? How can they even stomach that food after seeing those bodies? I'm just curious. What kind of psycho could commit such a crime?" Interrupting their conversation from nearby, the voice of an older man called out. It was a sacrifice. He slowly walked over to stand before them. He cast his eyes downward and continued. "What you saw was a type of ritual, offering humans to demons." He then sat down to chat further. You two haven't eaten yet, right? Care for a swig of ale? Aaron quickly waved his hand in refusal. I'm sorry, but alcohol will only dull my senses. Seeing Aaron decline, the man turned to Dylan. How about you? Dylan grinned and reached out to take the flask. He exclaimed, Oh, I'm definitely not one to say no to that. Seeing Dylan's behavior, Aaron snapped at him, If you puke, one more time I'll literally kill you. After a few gulps, the man introduced himself with a somber face. I'm John, the commander of this escort convoy. I haven't seen your faces around here before. Are you guys mercenaries? Aaron turned to him and replied, I'm Aaron. Not exactly a mercenary. Just working a part-time gig for now. The man sighed and remarked, Part-time, huh? Either way, make sure you eat and rest well. Whenever you get the chance. This journey might be tougher than you imagine. Look over there. They often call her the Flower of the East. Dylan blurted out, I've met her before. She really is breathtaking. The man continued, his face full of concern. I had a bad feeling that this wasn't just some ordinary escort mission, but I never expected Lady Cassandra and her knight to be inside that very carriage. Hearing this, Aaron's face grew pensive. The images of when he first encountered her at the sight of those corpses flashed before him. Lady Vivian, what are you doing here? She replied with a cheerful smile, Oh, I'm just out for a little stroll. Being cooped up in the castle was making me feel so claustrophobic. So I'm heading to Fort Bone on my father's suggestion. Aaron pressed further, Your father? You mean the Lord, don't you? Suddenly a hand reached out and lightly tapped her shoulder, saying, That's enough. Knowledge brings heavy responsibility. She looked up with a panicked expression and gasped, Ben! Ben Lix spoke to Aaron with eyes full of hidden meaning. You should only know what's appropriate for your station. Aaron, the guard captain, snapped out of his reverie. Aaron then wondered to himself, So the Lord sent the young lady to Fort Bone. Seeing Aaron sitting in a daze, John quickly turned to ask, You seem unusually calm. A demon might actually appear. Aren't you afraid? Aaron replied calmly. Well, don't we have a knight right beside us? Knights? They're all trained for one single purpose, to slay monsters. The Empire's elite force. Then he slowly grasped his sword in his hand. With a somber look, he continued, As long as I have this sword, then even if the odds of survival are slim to none, I will always make it back alive. Even if it's also a bit unfortunate, the old man said, surprised. Ah, so that's how it is. Well, I wish you luck. By now, the stew pot had been scraped clean, leaving nothing but the ladle and a few remaining drops. The scene cuts to a certain room. A notebook sat neatly on the table. Aaron walked up and picked it up. An image of that blonde-haired boy reappeared in his mind. Are you happy now? The blonde boy replied innocently, Yes, I'm very happy. Suddenly, his face darkened as he muttered, It's been so long since we last saw each other. On must have grown so much by now. At that moment, a dark shadow appeared behind him, slowly creeping closer. It reached out a hand to touch his shoulder. Sensing the danger lightning fast, Aaron spun around with a powerful punch. He glanced down at what he had just floored and couldn't help but be shocked. A zombie was lying on the floor with the wounds he'd just inflicted. Blood dripped down its face, accompanied by low groans and growls. Suddenly, it jerked its head up to look at Aaron, with glowing eyes and a face full of rage. Then it scrambled up to continue its attack. But as a guard captain, this thing was no match for him. A split second later, with a single sword stroke, the unlucky zombie slumped dead on the floor. He scratched his head, wondering, what the hell? Why is there a zombie here? Where did it crawl out from? Meanwhile, Dylan's face was the picture of pure terror. His limbs were flailing wildly. In front of him, a zombie was lunging to attack. He kept screaming, Get away! Get lost, you damn monster. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a blade flashed across the zombie's neck. Blood sprayed everywhere as it roared like a maniac. Blood splattered right in front of him, leaving Dylan stunned and speechless. It was Aaron standing tall with a blood-stained sword. Seeing that his big bro had just saved his life, Dylan rushed over, grabbing Aaron's leg and sobbing. Aaron, where the hell were you? Were you gonna leave me all alone? Aaron snapped at him, Stop making such a scene. Where is everyone else? Dylan quickly explained. Bro, we're in real trouble now. The mercenaries, the soldiers. Everyone's fast asleep and won't wake up. It's like they've been hit by some kind of sleeping curse or something. Aaron's eyes narrowed as he wondered, could it be magic? But if it really is magic, then why are Dylan and I the only ones who are okay? The stew must have been spiked. Since it's just sleeping pills and not poison, their goal is definitely to capture someone alive. That person could be... His train of thought was cut short. Dylan spotted something terrifying. His arm kept pointing forward, trembling all over as he stammered, Bro! I think we're in deep trouble. Standing before them was a horde of zombies, slowly closing in. Every single one had its mouth agape, eyes glowing as if they'd locked onto their prey. Saliva was constantly dripping from their jaws, a truly gruesome sight. Aaron quickly shoved Dylan back, saying, "It's time to go. I guess I'll warm up with these damn low-level zombies first, until the real game begins." He let out a thrill-seeking smirk. Then his expression turned deathly serious. His eyes flared with a stark white light, and a fierce, murderous aura radiated from him. He slashed wildly from right to left, his blade leaving long white streaks in the air. He lunged forward with jumping strikes, cleaving straight through the zombie horde. He fought with a frantic, savage energy. Long trails of blood splattered under his devastating strikes. At that moment, his inner demon asked, "It woke you up, didn't it?" He replied angrily, "That's a military wake-up call, you bastard." Up in the sky, dark clouds were slowly gathering. Rain began to pour down heavily. Just as Aaron finished off the entire zombie pack, their corpses lay scattered across the road. Sensing something behind him, Aaron spun around in shock. "What the hell, is there another one?" Aaron suddenly froze in horror. Standing right before him was a zombie, but it was on the blonde-haired boy he had been longing to see day and night. Once an innocent child, he had now become a soulless zombie. His face immediately darkened as he choked out, "Just as I thought, you've grown quite a lot, haven't you?" He quietly reminisced about the time 2 years ago. "I was hiding out in a village, far from those hunting me down. On innocently walked up to me and called me Sir Knight. I winked and replied with a smile, 'Hey kid, who are you calling Sir Knight?' Then On opened the book in his hand and explained, 'What, it's just because that's what it looks like in my book. Knights are super strong and cool.' After that, On happily flipped to that page and held it up to me. I continued playfully, 'That's because I'm the strongest and coolest guy you've ever laid eyes on.' Amused, I reached out and ruffled his hair, saying, 'You sure know how to talk nonsense.' But he didn't like anyone touching his head, so he kept trying to get me to stop. On was the son of a village farmer. He was a boy who loved to read, and I was very fond of him. Even after settling down in Castle Duke, I still went back to visit the little guy. That day, I had come to help the kid chop firewood and run some errands. I told him then that there was a library in the city overflowing with books, and the librarian there spent all day practically buried in piles of them. This made On incredibly hyped, saying he wanted to be just like that, to become a librarian, so he could dive into books all day long. For a total bookworm like On, that job was a perfect fit. I suggested he should go there and give it a shot. They say that the food of demons is human fear. Another time, On showed up with bruises on his face from his dad's beatings. His father told him that a farmer's son could only ever be a farmer, not dream of being some librarian. It left On feeling absolutely crushed and hopeless. Wrong. Demons devour human despair as well. Back in the present, Aaron slowly lowered his sword to the ground. He knelt down and pulled young On into a tight embrace. Ignoring those blood-stained teeth baring at him, trying to tear into his flesh, he hurriedly whispered to On, "I'm not actually a knight. I'm just a captain of the city guard." Then he tightened his grip on On, wanting to set the boy free in the most painless way possible. A moment later, On's arms went limp. The rain was still coming down in sheets. Behind Aaron's back, dark shadows were slowly creeping closer. Dylan and the others who had been drugged were also charging toward him, shouting at the top of their lungs, "Big bro, watch out. I've woken up everyone who was out cold. Everyone hurry up and take them down. Wipe out these walkers." Aaron turned toward them dazed. It seemed he hadn't yet realized that a pack of zombies was still closing in behind him. He quickly closed On's eyes and said, "Rest in peace now. I hope that in the afterlife, you won't have to suffer anymore." Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the air. Panicked voices broke out everywhere. "What the hell happened over there?" "That building is where the young lady is staying." Aaron picked his sword up off the ground, gripping it tightly in his hand. He looked toward the explosion where smoke was billowing into the sky. Bowing silently, "I'll avenge you, kid." Somewhere else, an unfortunate girl just had her throat slashed. Blood sprayed everywhere. She was surrounded by countless corpses, littering the ground. Knight Ben had also been stabbed in the arm. His face dark with pain, he confronted the mysterious figure. "We heard the rumors that someone was targeting the Lady of Castle, ASCD. So we secretly set out for the merchant city. Turns out, those rumors were true. I never thought you'd actually target a parade like this." Immediately after, Ben glared intensely at the stranger, his face radiating murderous intent and a cold, satisfied smirk. Hand pulling the dagger stuck in Ra's body, then pointing the sword at the other guy, he continued, "But you know, isn't drawing a sword to protect a lady the ultimate happiness and romance for a knight? Even if the opponent is a cruel demon, it's no big deal. In front of Ben, right now is a monster with blank white eyes, completely devoid of humanity, possessing a giant deformed arm. He was sitting high and mighty on a ruined wall. Ben didn't show even a bit of flinching. His eyes also glowed with a mysterious blue light, gritting his teeth as he gloatingly continued, "So back off, you disgusting freak!" Hearing Ben's aggressive smoke and mirrors talk, the guy glared at him and said smugly, "Looks like you're a knight who's all talk. But no matter how hard you try to buy time, with that BS you're spewing, well, your wound isn't going to heal quickly. That dagger was coated in deadly poison. On top of that, you must have eaten that stew, right? Due to the effects of the toxin, your mind must be getting pretty hazy, isn't it? You think you even stand a chance?" At this moment, Ben's injured arm began to tremble uncontrollably, but he still tried to act like it was no big deal, mocking the guy. "Of course, in my eyes, your actions are just pathetic and low. Maybe it's because you're so damn ugly." He became absolutely livid. On his arm, more freaky-looking eyes began to emerge. A bright red, murderous aura flared up around him, cursing at Ben. "You bastard, watch your damn mouth." The moment he finished his sentence, he leaped straight off the wall, with terrifying speed, pulling his arm back, to gear up for a demonic punch. Right now, the sword rose to intercept the attack, while thoughts flashed through his mind. This is probably only at about half power of my entire skill level, I guess. My aura is barely visible anymore. This guy has only been corrupted by the demon on one arm, so I need to quickly target the parts that aren't possessed yet. The moment he falls for my bait, there's still a shot at winning. Snapping out of his thoughts, Ben started feinting dodges to buy time to scope out the monster's weak spots. Ben's moves were totally messing with the guy's head, leaving him completely baffled. His face grew even more livid. It looked like the moment had arrived. Ben locked onto his target and lunged, stabbing his sword straight into the guy's shoulder. At the same time, the monster's massive hand tightly gripped Ben's neck. He hoisted him up, laughing mockingly. "You think I'll die just because you stabbed a part of me that hasn't transformed yet? What, you think I'd go down at the hands of a mediocre knight like you?" Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream from someone behind the guy rang out, catching Ben completely off guard. "I'm going to kill you. I've come to avenge on. Prepare yourself for whatever's coming." It was Aaron. His face was a mask of pure hatred. He swung his sword at the monster. A single slash sliced off a chunk of the guy's head, sending him howling in agony. But apparently that wasn't enough to finish him off. Infuriated, he spun around to face Aaron. "Who the hell are you, you bastard?" Before Aaron could even answer, the guy lashed out with his mutated arm, striking Aaron with immense force. Aaron was sent flying several meters, collapsing onto the ground. He arrogantly spread his arms wide, looked up at the sky, and said, "Damn it, what the hell is this because of some prick who isn't even a knight? I've wasted precious drops of blood. It seems we must hurry before we run out of blood for the sacrifice. Hand over that woman now." After the guy's powerful blow, Aaron stumbled to his feet and spoke up. "On has become a zombie, so I have to avenge him." With that, Aaron's fighting spirit ignited. His rolled-back eyes glowed with a dead white light, and with a face full of resentment, he charged at the guy. But a massive arm was already waiting right in front of him. The monster threw another punch, sending Aaron flying back. However, the guy's chest began to ooze blood, catching him completely off guard. Aaron slumped on the ground, mocked him triumphantly. "Go ahead and heal up fast. Every time you regenerate, I'll just slice you again." Just then, blood started spraying from the wound in streaks, driving the guy into an absolute frenzy. He looked up at the sky, screaming and cursing relentlessly. "You damn bastard! You freaking insect!" Sensing something wrong within his body, his eyes widened as he thought, "Damn it! This is bad. That arm is starting to drain my blood. At this rate, I'll be completely absorbed by it." Cutting through the guy's thoughts, Aaron stood up with a smug look and said, "What the hell? I thought you could take a few hits. Turns out you're just a weakling. This is for on, take this." The moment he finished speaking, Aaron began to move toward the guy with insane speed. Aaron unleashed a strike fueled by pure hatred, but the other guy wasn't going down that easily. He raised that hideous arm and caught Aaron's sword in a tight grip. Then he cursed furiously, "You psycho! Who the hell is on to you that you'd go this far, huh?" Suddenly, questions raced through the guy's mind. This guy isn't even a knight. Where the hell is he getting this kind of power? Aaron sensed danger from behind. He hurriedly used all his strength to pull his sword from the monster's hand. Monster raised his sword to parry an attack from someone. It was Uncle John. With bloodshot eyes, he spoke up. "Well, looks like you're not just some big guy with no brains." Aaron frowned and replied, "Humph, I was wondering when you'd finally show your face." The old man laughed mockingly and said, "You've got a pretty sharp tongue, don't you? You look like a bear on the outside, but you're a real fox on the inside. Since the villagers have already been sacrificed, and you showed up at the exact same time, I can't help but suspect you. If it wasn't for you, this would have all been over by now." While the two of them were fighting, the big armed monster turned his head away. At that moment, the demon inside him spoke up. "Restore in your name." Too late. I have no more use for this weak body of yours. Blood-red tentacles from his arm began to crawl up onto the guy's face, making him cry out in terror and pain. "No, wait, I'll give you blood. I'll offer it right now." The demon replied coldly. "No, I found a much tastier body than yours." Back to Aaron's battle. His sword had completely shattered, leaving Aaron frustrated as he blurted out, "Damn it, this cheap-ass sword! Did it really go dull just from fighting that demon?" Seeing that Aaron had lost his weapon, Uncle John quickly pulled out his dagger. With a murderous glare at Aaron, he said, "It's over, die!" But even without a weapon, with his raw physical power, Aaron threw a devastating punch straight into the man's face. Then he said, "Now that's a real counterpunch." Under that massive force combined with his old age, the man's knees buckled, and he fell face first onto the floor. Over here, the demon seemed to have completely swallowed that unlucky guy's body whole. It was staring intently at Aaron, without a hint of fear in his eyes, and with the blood of a warrior pumping. Aaron looked at it with a thirst for battle and said, "Finally, you've been bitten by your own demon. Has it been completely swallowed?" It replied to him, "From now on, this great entity will take your life. What are you going to do now? You don't even have the strength to swing that broken sword. You aren't even a real knight. Tell me, what can you possibly do now?" But without giving it a chance to keep yapping, Aaron charged at the monster with a face full of rage. With a phantom-like flash, he appeared right in front of it. Suddenly he screamed, "This disgusting giant eye! I still have enough strength to rip it out." Then he opened his mouth wide, jaw stretching to his ears, viciously tearing and biting like a wild beast. And then, vague memories of the past flashed through his mind. The gladiator, Gongai, the gambler, K, Mage, and all his comrades from his days as a mercenary. Before he died, his commander had told him that he had to survive at all costs. Snapping awake from the trance, Aaron was dazed, having no clue what just happened. Seeing him awake, Ben quickly called out from behind, "You're finally up. Are you back with us, Captain Aaron?" Aaron asked Ben with a bewildered look. "You're still alive." Ben shot back, "I should be asking you that. Your vitals were dropping so fast. I thought you were a goner." Aaron kept checking, his own body thinking to himself, My body seems fine." Ben hurriedly continued, "When I woke up, you were still out cold." Still not understanding what had happened, Aaron kept acting strangely. He looked at his hands and wondered what went down, and those memories just now. Seeing Aaron remain silent, Ben looked at him and asked, "Anyway, that demon was lying right next to you. You're the one who did it, right?" Aaron slowly stood up and replied, "Sorry, but I don't remember a thing." He scratched his head and added, "Whatever, as long as it's dead, right? Doesn't really matter how it happened. By the way, let me ask, that carefree woman, what's her deal with that demon anyway? She looks like she doesn't even know. Her life is hanging by a thread, yet she's sleeping like a baby." Ben chuckled and replied, "None of your business. Is that how you talk to the high nobility?" Aaron's face turned awkward as he blurted out, "Oh, is that so?" Then Ben turned to him and gave his thanks. "Anyway, we truly owe you our lives. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Ben, a knight from Bun City. Thank you so much, Guard Captain Aaron." Scene cuts to the next morning. The corpses were piled up for a mass cremation as everyone looked on. Facing this tragic scene, Aaron gradually drifted into thought. They sacrificed an entire village to summon a demon, just for that woman's life. What a bizarre atmosphere. Then Aaron turned and walked away with a heavy heart and a sad face. After all the bodies were cremated, the group headed back to Kustarik. He and Ben both agreed that Ben would take the credit for killing the demon. Since there were only 2 witnesses, this suited Aaron better. If people found out he had clashed head-on with a demon, things might escalate, causing the church to launch a full-scale investigation. Regardless, he survived this time, and he even received a decent compensation, so it was pretty much a win-win situation. Then suddenly Dylan came up and grabbed my hand. I thought this Dylan guy was a goner, but I didn't expect him to be hiding under the pile of corpses. He's a tougher survivor than I thought. I figured the mercenary substitute mission was over. Scene cuts to a certain room. Aaron was currently in a state of pure rage and panic. He stared at himself in the mirror and cried out, "What the hell is this?" An eye had appeared on his chest, constantly emitting a glowing pink smoke. It snapped its eye open and called out, "Hey, how you feeling?" The scene that unfolded made him... Aaron was absolutely floored by this talking eye. He quickly drew his blade and stabbed it straight into his chest right where the eye was attached. Just as the tip of the knife reached it, it blurted out, "Oh, that feels amazing. Go on, lift that knife a little higher, will you?" Unable to accept the reality of the situation, Aaron screamed in pure frustration, "Shut the hell up!" The loud scream made Henna jump in surprise. After that, Aaron flopped onto the bed. He lay there with his hand on his forehead, lost in thought before asking, "What even are you? Are you that demon?" It shot back sharply. "Only idiots call me that." Aaron wondered to himself, did it slip into my body when I bit it? Is that why I lost my memories? The thing suddenly began to explain. "Don't get it twisted. It's not because of you. I only took over your body because I felt like it." Aaron bolted upright and cursed at it. "Then get the hell out, or I'll carve out every bit of flesh around you." It replied, "I already told you, switching hosts doesn't depend on what you want, and it takes time." Seeing a glimmer of hope, Aaron quickly asked, "How much time?" It gloated and replied, "About 100 years. Hearing this, Aaron angrily grabbed his knife, stabbed it again, and swore. Seeing the situation getting tense, it spoke up. "Come on, having me around isn't actually that bad. I should probably show you who I really am." As soon as those words were spoken, bursts of deep blue light flared up, surrounding Aaron's knife. His eyes widened as he thought, "This is aura. How can a demon use a power that only knights can wield?" He stood there dazed, admiring the beauty of that radiant energy, when suddenly it flickered out, leaving Aaron feeling totally let down. It looked up at him and said, "See, that's just a taste of my power." Suddenly a loud voice called out from outside. Aaron frantically grabbed the blanket to hide the eye. With a panicked expression, he thought, "It's Henna. If she sees this, it's going to be a huge mess." Down below, Henna kept screaming her head off. "Aaron, get down here for a sec. Kasserik's Catholic monastery is looking for you. It can't wait any longer." He pushed Henna aside and said, "Is he on the second floor? There's no time left, move it." He shouted at the top of his lungs while walking. "Do not hesitate when the nobility calls. Captain Lord Ben is looking for you. Get down here fast." Before he could even finish his sentence, a fist landed squarely on his face. Aaron smirked with pure satisfaction. Your face is still as ugly as a monkey's, huh? And I'll be done soon. Just lay there and wait a bit." He clutched his face in agony, furiously cursing, "You absolute piece of trash." A moment later, Aaron walked out. Seeing him come out, Henna quickly asked, "Are you heading out, Aaron? Remember to come home early. I just learned some massage techniques that'll make you feel great." "Sure, I'll do it if you pay me $50. Aaron replied coldly, "No thanks, let's go Banhan." "Aaron, how about I only take 40? On the way, Aaron couldn't stop thinking. I was terrified, but it turns out Ben just summoned me. Is he planning to reward me for defeating that demon? For a guard, Ben is actually pretty sharp. On the other hand, the aura, the power to destroy evil and enforce justice. It's a miracle and a power granted only to knights. Only those chosen and trained by the Empire can ever become knights. However, those training methods are never recorded. At least that's what I know. But it's kind of weird how that demon's power was so similar to the aura." Back to the present. Aaron let out a long sigh and spoke up. "How much further do we have to go, Banhan?" He immediately replied, "We're almost there, Captain. By the way, what does Banhan actually mean?" Aaron chuckled and said, "What, you don't like it? It means half of a half-noble. It's a perfect nickname for a noble's bastard like you." He scowled, thinking to himself, "That piece of work. One day I'm going to take you out. We're here." Aaron gasped in panic. "Wait, what?" This is the main hall of the Sun Temple. Suddenly he felt a wave of anxiety and thought, "But I literally have a demon inside me right now." Stepping inside, Ben was already waiting there with a cheerful look on his face. He reached out to welcome Captain Aaron. "You finally made it. I've been waiting for a while. You look a bit startled. By my presence, don't you?" Aaron sighed, thinking, "That's 'cause I'm scared of being exercised. This place gives me a bad vibe." Ben gestured toward the priest and continued speaking to Aaron. "Introduce yourself. This is the temple's priest Brian." He chuckled as he looked at him and spoke up. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Aaron. And this is Johanna the Inquisitor." Both are renowned for their deep religious faith. Seeing Johanna staring intensely at him, Aaron frowned and thought, "What the heck? Does she have a crush on me or something? Why is she staring so hard?" Suddenly, she thrust her fist toward Aaron, triggering his reflexes immediately. He moved to draw his sword, but her speed far exceeded his. Her fist stopped right in front of his forehead. Priest Brian chuckled with amusement and said, "Oh, the Inquisitor has given you her blessing. I'm so jealous, Aaron." At that moment, his mind was racing with thoughts. Wait, that was just a religious ritual. I mean, how was I supposed to know just by looking at it? The demon inside him spoke out in anger. "How dare a servant of God lay their filthy hands on me?" Priest Brian quickly continued, "Lord Ben told me everything, that you refused to take credit even after defeating the demon. This is a small reward from the temple to recognize your achievements." Looking down, Aaron was completely startled by the reward. He cried out in surprise. Is this a golden badge from the church? The priest smiled cheerfully and replied, Oh, you recognize it. Aaron, meanwhile, was still shell-shocked. He stammered as he replied, Am I really allowed to receive something this important? That's right, please keep it. Then his voice turned solemn as he stared intently at Aaron and said, We just need you to lend us your strength. In the rare event that the temple faces a crisis, Aaron thought to himself, Priest Brian? I heard rumors he was one of the indirect causes behind the spread of the corrupted power back in Kasserich. But in reality, he's actually the most truly devout person of this era. He quickly clenched his fist, tapped his forehead, stood up and told the priest, Father, from this moment on, you are my faith, long live the Sun Temple. The scene shifts elsewhere. Kale stared blankly at Aaron and asked, Captain Aaron, clad in new armor and sporting the sun badge, Aaron said sternly, Is there a problem, Kale? Did you bully someone and steal their gear? What's up with that badge? And that weirdly shiny armor too, Aaron replied sarcastically. Look who's talking. Why don't you take off that cringy scarf before you start running your mouth? Kale slammed his hand on the table, red with anger, and yelled, What the hell is wrong with my scarf? Rosa bought this for me. Seeing Kale getting worked up, Aaron backed down a bit and said with a smirk, This badge has been imbued with the energy of the sun god. Tagra the Suntag one. This armor also came with some gold coins. Then why don't you use that money to pay your bar tab? A hot, sexy girl with a curvy figure and fair skin gradually approached them and said, Here are your beers, gentlemen, coming right up. She then slowly placed 2 mugs of beer on the table. Kale's eyes followed her every move, but he didn't forget to thank Charlotte. After glancing around for a bit, she suddenly spoke up and asked, Is Breg not coming today? Is Breg off work? Wait, what's this about? Are you catching feelings for Breg or something, Lady Charlotte? A solid guy like Breg is pretty hard to find after all. Breg is definitely a real one. He's incredibly hard-working and dedicated. Cutting through the 2 men's gossip, she spoke up, I'm going to give him a massage using a special technique. That will make him feel absolutely amazing when he gets here. Hearing that, Aaron wondered to himself, So Henna learned that from this girl? Man, this beer is lukewarm. I miss that crisp, ice-cold taste. She hurriedly blurted out, Oh right, have you guys heard the latest? Apparently some scammers have been spotted around here lately. That statement made Aaron fall into deep thought, while Kale turned to her, eyes wide with surprise. You know the Sick Mermaid Inn over in District 5? Right, a lot of outsiders have been flocking there recently. Then the gambling game started, and some little girl is totally running the dice tables. Aaron slammed his beer mug onto the table and said, A brat dare gamble in my territory. As the captain of the Cassidy Temple Guard, I can't just sit back and watch this happen. After saying that, he stood up and left, leaving the 2 of them staring in shock. Seeing things were escalating too far, Kale crawled after him, pleading with the captain, Captain, this isn't right. Aaron smirked and glanced back at Kale, saying, Let's go, Kale. Let's go shut down that gambling ring. The scene shifts to the Sick Mermaid Inn. Aaron was hyped up to the max, throwing a kick into the air and shouting triumphantly, I'm in the house. An old guy in the corner saw Aaron's shadow and stood up in a panic, stammering, Hey, Aaron, why are you... Aaron smiled cheerfully and told the old man, Joseph, long time no see, so where's the gambling table? The old man pointed at Aaron in shock and replied, Wait, didn't you say you quit gambling? Aaron slowly approached with a shady look on his face. In his hand was a massive bag of cash. With a slight smirk, he continued, I'm here for one last round today and then I'm out for good. Mainly because it's been a long time since I've had this much bread on me. I bet the smell of money is coming from this table right here. Aaron put his hand on a chair and pulled it out. He sat down like he owned the place. With a calculating look, he spoke up. Hey, kid, heard you've got some lucky hands with the dice, right? Let's see what you've got. Then Aaron picked up the cup and began shaking the dice on the table. Opening the cup, he acted totally surprised and blurted out, Wait, what? Look at that 6, looks like another draw. All right then, how about we up the stakes? What do you say, kid? Win and you double up. Lose and you go home empty-handed. The girl looked up at Aaron and replied, Fine. I'll double the bet too. Right after that, the girl thought to herself, What a complete clown. I lost a few rounds on purpose, and now he's acting like he's already won. Not to mention all these flexes he's doing. Suddenly, a tall, burly man standing behind her raised his hand, as if giving some kind of signal. Understanding the hint, the girl thought, There's the signal to start taking his money. Well, looks like he's toast. In his wildest dreams, he'd never guess I can change the dice to whatever I want using magic. I'm sorry, but I'm going to drain you dry until your very last cent. interrupting her train of thought. Aaron growled loudly, "Stop right there. Are you planning on using magic to cheat?" Caught red-handed, this girl was startled. Her voice trembling, she replied, "What? You got any proof to back that up?" Aaron calmly took another sip of his beer, and then explained, "Proof. Of course I do. Just now you were going to make my dice roll a 4, and you were going to make yours roll a 4 as well, just to end this round in a tie. Isn't that right?" Hearing Aaron's sharp reasoning, the little girl stood up in disbelief and blurted out, "Oh no. How?" Aaron calmly continued his explanation. "You sat there and scripted the whole thing, didn't you? This little brat actually wait. That's not right." He slowly opened his dice cup and confirmed, "See, told you so. I'd bet all my money in this hand of mine that you were using magic just now. If you're scared, then get lost." Having her secret exposed, the girl looked quite anxious and terrified. At that moment, beads of sweat began to roll down her innocent face. Aaron continued to press her, saying, "You see, exploiting young witches like you to run a rigged gambling ring is becoming a pretty common hustle these days." The long-haired man behind the girl, realizing things were beyond saving, let out a look of pure frustration. He drew his sword and spoke to Aaron with sarcasm. "I thought you were just some idiot. Who knew you'd figured out we were all in on it together? Well, I guess I'll just have to cut your life short then. Now, if you don't want to die, leave all the cash you've made and get the hell out." At the same time, his lackeys behind him, along with a murderous Aaron, were also drawing their swords. Faced with those threats, Aaron remained nonchalant and growled back, "Oh, haven't you guys learned one thing? Don't bet if you aren't sure you're gonna win." He then slowly reached into his shirt, pulling something out while warning them. "The point is, if any of you knew who I actually was, you wouldn't be pulling this nonsense." Immediately after, he put on a fierce expression, flipping a gold coin he had just taken from his person, and said to them, "Playing dice with this kid was fun. So do you guys want to go one more round? In case you didn't know this gold. That's pure gold from the Sun Cathedral. It's worth about 500 copper coins. That should be enough, right?" Watching the gold coin roll across the table, the thugs couldn't help but stare in shock. His eyes widened in shock as he blurted out, "Whoa! This is the first time I've ever seen a gold coin from the cathedral. The Sun Cathedral, no less." A man with a long scar across his face growled, "Hey, Aaron, what kind of game are you trying to pull here, huh?" He gripped his axe tightly, holding it steady with a suspicious look, questioning why, even though he knew they were scammers, and that this brat is a witch, "You're still down to keep playing? What kind of BS are you on right now?" Aaron immediately put on a provocative face and snapped back, "Damn it. The biggest scam ring in the world is sure talkative, isn't it? If you're scared, just go home." This made the man explode in anger, shouting, "Scared me." He then slammed his axe onto the table, grabbed the girl by her head and barked, "Fine. Then I'm betting everything? All this cash in this bitch's hand?" Then he looked down at the girl and threatened her, "Kana, if you don't win this round, you're losing a hand today." And so the game began. Soft hands moved with constant fluid grace, creating movements that were nothing short of elite. Seeing that Kana was just an innocent girl being manipulated, Aaron gave her some advice. "Hey, kid, you should go to a magic academy or something. What are you doing hanging around these low-life scumbags? Did you study magic and realize it wasn't for you? Or are you just broke? Are you trying to save up for tuition?" Kana slightly lowered her hood, glaring at Aaron with pure anger. She said, "Stop guessing and mind your business. What do you even know about me to be making up stories like that?" Aaron bowed his head slightly and chuckled to himself before saying, all right. But deep down he was thinking, judging by her reaction, "I hit the nail right on the head." Meanwhile, the scarred-faced man rolled his pale eyes, looking toward Aaron. He thought to himself that just a moment ago he was wondering where he got the guts to keep playing, but it seemed like he was just stalling for time to do something. "Sorry, but as long as you know who we are, then we have no intention of letting you walk out of here alive. The very second you lift that cup." Thinking about a nice cold beer, Aaron suddenly had an idea and said to Kana, "Oh, one last question. Can you use magic to chill a beer?" This made the tough guys behind him lose their patience, one of them snapping, "Beer what?" And of course this caught Kana completely off guard. After a moment to compose herself, the girl replied, "Oh, sure. I just need to use basic ice magic, that's all." "But why are you suddenly asking that?" Aaron smiled with satisfaction and said, "Good." On the other hand, Scarface was becoming absolutely livid. His face contorted as he cursed. "Holy crap! The game of dice is a game where players shake 2 dice inside a cup and add the 2 faces together. The person with the higher last digit wins the round. This game is also known as the Warrior's Bet. They say that if you follow the right person, you'll never lose. Scarface then lunged at Aaron in a frenzy, attacking wildly. He swung his sharp axe toward Aaron, thinking he finally had him cornered this time. While gloating over his move, he was suddenly stunned by Aaron's voice. "Hey, Scarface, you have no shame at all, do you?" Aaron grabbed the axe firmly, mocking him with delight. "A bunch of grown-ass men exploiting a little girl to make money. Do you think that's okay? You damn medieval punks." He then grabbed the man by the throat and squeezed tight, cursing him out with a look of pure rage. "You should be ashamed of yourself, you bastard." The long-haired guy witnessing this was beyond furious. Gritting his teeth with a scowl, he charged at Aaron like a madman. Sensing that killing intent, Aaron glanced back and thought, "Dark magic, huh? Oh well. So you'd rather die with your buddy than live in disgrace." "Right." The knife edged closer. Aaron quickly dodged to the side, making it stab right into Scarface. Then he turned around and grabbed the long-haired guy's head, squeezing it relentlessly. At this moment, Kana was completely floored by Aaron's skills. The girl kept thinking to herself, oh no. No way. He took them all down with his bare hands. Kale rushed over grinning as he said to Aaron, "It's always like this. Whenever you play dice, you end up getting into a scrap. Captain, that's exactly why. You aren't allowed to gamble. Oh, this guy is knife-wielding sat. The hitman wanted by the next town over." Aaron nonchalantly tossed the gold coin in his hand. With a cold face, he said to Kale, "Yeah, not my problem." Suddenly remembering the girl Kana, Aaron quickly called out, "Hey, little fridge, where'd you go?" Hearing his call, the girl who was hiding in the corner startled and made a sharp sound. Aaron hurried over. Seeing him approach, the girl looked absolutely terrified. She clutched her head, crying and trembling. She kept pleading, "I'm sorry. Please don't kill me." Startled, Aaron said, "What are you talking about? Hey, do you want to make some money? If you make me a cold beer every day, then I'll set you up with a job. You'll have a place to eat and sleep until you start your classes at the Magic Academy." Then he reached out his hand, grinning ear to ear. He asked the girl, "What do you say, want to come with me?" Kana looked up at him with a face full of gratitude. Then she reached out her tiny hand, took his and softly replied, "Yes." The scene cuts to the inn where Aaron is staying. Just like any other day, Aaron was intensely practicing his swordplay in the cool early morning air. Kana suddenly appeared behind him and called his name, startling Aaron, who turned and replied, "Hey, little mage." Kana felt a bit irked, thinking to herself, "Little mage." Then she said to Aaron, "Here is your beer." Aaron quickly grabbed the beer mug from her hand, not forgetting to tease her. "Being so nice this early in the morning, huh?" Then he raised the mug and chugged it down, satisfying his craving. After finishing, Aaron nodded in approval and showered Kana with praise. "So good, this is exactly the taste I wanted." Then he patted Kana on the head, asking, "How old are you anyway, little mage?" She didn't like that at all, replying with an annoyed look. 12, Aaron blurted out in shock. "What, why are you so tiny then? Are you from some dwarf tribe or something?" Right after that, a pair of feet quietly stepped forward. Henna, looking absolutely furious, snapped, "Hey, Aaron, is this child actually Aaron's daughter?" Aaron's eyes widened in panic, and the beer in his mouth sprayed out involuntarily. Recovering himself, he hurried to explain to Henna, "What are you talking about? I just found her, she's a little mage." "And?" "Well, we're short-staffed anyway, so just think of her as a new employee. Take good care of her, okay?" Henna stared intently at the girl and said, Actually, how could such a cute kid possibly be Aaron's daughter?" Then she pulled Kana into a tight hug. While the girl looked on in total surprise, she said to her, "You must have suffered so much among those bad people. I'll protect you from now on, okay? What's your name, sweetie?" Kana was still in shock from this woman's intensity. She hesitantly replied, It's Kana." Henna happily continued, "Oh my, what a beautiful name." Then she suddenly put on a dead serious face, freaking out a bit as she asked the girl, "By the way, Kana, how many mugs of cold beer like this can you make?" "Every day. Give or take, how about exactly 300 mugs a day? I can even pay you double." Seeing this, Aaron walked away with a weary expression, muttering to himself, "Well, time to get to work." 4. A day in the life of the guard captain. Aaron's routine is summarized as follows. First, morning roll call with the captain. Second, patrolling the market to maintain law and order in the city of Casterik. Third, checking the city gates to verify everyone's background. Aaron stood at the gate, dazed and complaining. Why is there no traffic today? Maybe people are avoiding the place, because the tolls are just way too high. At that moment, a dark figure was slowly approaching. A black man quietly came up behind him, leaned into Aaron's ear and whispered a code phrase. "The camellia flower never withers." Aaron quickly turned around and asked him, What was this sent by Scar again? The man put a finger to his lips and whispered back, "Don't just toss his name around so casually. He is the shadow of Casteric City." Aaron nonchalantly said to the man, "Yeah, whatever, just get to the point." The man glanced around suspiciously, looking all serious and dangerous. He said that lately, many strangers have been showing up in Casteric, and quite a few of them are posing as merchants and acting sketchy. "Read this letter." With that, he handed Aaron a pink letter. With a look of doubt, Aaron opened the letter to check it out. The lines were scribbled in a hurry by someone. It was a message from the Shadow King. The letter read, "They entered the city 3 days ago and haven't left. They're lying low, but they can't hide from me. The Shadow King Scar. Remember our old oath, my friend. While I rule Casteric from the shadows, you, Aaron, will stand in the light." After reading it, Aaron looked completely fed up and angry. He then proceeded to crumple the letter up, much to the man's surprise. Without a second thought, he tossed it behind him and snapped, "I'm busy as hell and you're here talking nonsense." The man frantically tried to catch the letter, as if his life depended on it, crying out, "The letter! The Shadow King's letter!" Aaron looked back with a face full of rage, telling the black man, "Go back and tell that Scar guy to quit playing kid games, Shadow King my ass." The man slumped down to the ground in misery, crying as he explained, "But this is actually serious business." Aaron barked angrily, "Stop the act and get lost." Faced with that, the man had no choice but to leave with a bitter face. While Aaron was daydreaming, thinking to himself, in this corner of the world having more strangers around is actually good for the economy. How could anything even happen? In a middle-of-nowhere place like this, he's being so extra. Right then, a horse carriage was slowly moving toward the city gate, catching Aaron's interest. He called out, "Catter, wake up! Time to make some bank." Catter came running out sluggishly, just as Aaron flagged down the carriage. Aaron signaled the driver to stop and said, "Hold everything right there." Scanning the driver's face closely, Aaron was taken aback. Thoughts started racing through his mind. This guy looks pretty sketchy. The driver appeared in an all-pink outfit, wearing heavy layers of makeup. He tipped his bright purple hat, grinning as he said, "Hello. How's everyone doing?" With a suspicious look, Aaron was about to draw his sword to arrest the man. But Catter rushed over laughing heartily, saying to him, "Good to see you again, Donua." Then he called him down and introduced him to Aaron. "Captain, this is Donua. He was assigned to the Cassius branch of the Mozart Merchant Guild. We first met at the checkpoint, not too long ago." He stepped forward with a squinty-eyed grin and said to Aaron, "Ah, so you're the guard captain. You're so handsome, I thought you were a knight." He then slowly pulled out a pouch of silver coins and handed it to Aaron, adding, "You guys sure work hard." Aaron put on an equally suspicious face, thinking for a moment. Then he burst out laughing and said to him, "From now on you can call me Big Bro." Meanwhile, his hand didn't forget its mission as it reached out to snatch up that bag of money. On the other hand, Catter quickly looked at Donua and asked, "Hey Donua, do you have any more of that stuff you gave me the other day?" He immediately pulled out a medicine bottle, held it up, and replied, "Of course I do." At this point, Aaron was feeling very intrigued, uttering an ooh as the man handed the bottle to Catter. Catter naturally was beyond excited, and exclaimed, "Thanks, man, this stuff helps me sleep like a baby." Aaron stared intently at the bottle with curiosity and said, "Oh, really?" Seeing that Aaron couldn't take his eyes off it, Catter panicked, jerked his hand back, and blurted out, "Wait, you can't have this one, Captain?" Annoyed, Aaron explained, "I'm not taking it. Do you really think I'm a thief?" Then, with a less-than-friendly look, he turned toward Donua, tightening his grip on the man's shoulder, and said sternly, "All right, then. Anyway, little brother, we need to inspect your cargo first. Nothing suspicious in here, right? Like contraband, for instance." Donua smiled cheerfully and replied, "Of course not, sir. If there were, I'd have to pay extra for the passage, wouldn't I?" Suddenly, something caught Aaron's eye. Looking at the tattoo on the man's neck, Aaron wondered, this tattoo? Interrupting his train of thought, Catter cried out in total shock, "What the hell is this, Captain? Come look at this quick." The two of them hurried over and pulled back the curtain with looks of utter disgust. Inside were goat carcasses, piled on top of each other after being slaughtered. Blood was splattered everywhere, leaking all over the carriage floor. Aaron immediately said to Donua, "The goats are already butchered, but the condition is terrible. They're rotting and infested with maggots, and blood is everywhere. Like this, both the meat and the carriage are ruined. What is going on here?" Donua put on a pained expression, thinking to himself, "Damn it! I just gave them money. Do they want more, or what?" Meanwhile, Aaron's face darkened as he thought, "Just as I thought, this guy is sketchy." Immediately, Donua pulled out another bag of money. He tried to put on a happy face while handing it to Aaron, explaining that, "The butcher I usually deal with had an accident lately. He passed away, so that's why things ended up like this." Aaron took the money bag and replied smugly, "Oh, that's just so tragic." "All right, you're good to go. Welcome to Casterrick." After taking a few steps into the city, Donua let out a savage smirk and muttered, "Welcome, huh?" Then he turned back toward the gate and cursed, "Idiots. Before long I'm going to turn this Casterrick into a living hell." Watching the carriage depart, Aaron said to Catter with a worried expression, Donua right. That guy's definitely no ordinary merchant." Suddenly, the words the black man had said earlier flashed through his mind. Many strangers have been showing up in Casterrick lately. Quite a few are posing as merchants and acting sketchy. Snapping out of his thoughts, Aaron flashed a wicked grin and said, "You'd better watch your step. In this day and age, it's either the gallows or innocent. One or the other." The scene cuts to the Smiling Rabbit Inn. The sign had now been changed to a picture of a rabbit holding a beer mug. Inside, Aaron, Wong Min, and Uncle Berrig were drinking and having a blast together. Wong Min felt curious and asked Berrig, "I heard Scarlet asked you out on a date, Berrig." Berrig acted shy, constantly scratching his head. He replied, "She invited me to watch the upcoming execution." Aaron thought to himself, Scarlet's making her move pretty fast, huh? Meanwhile, Wong Min hung his head in dejected disappointment, comparing himself. "Even an idiot like you has a date. What about me?" Hearing Wong Min's whining, Aaron thought, what kind of date is that? An execution isn't exactly a cultural festival. But man, their hobbies are seriously twisted. Suddenly, Berrig chuckled and blurted out, "Anyway, I'm planning to give her some cookies my mom made." This left both Aaron and Wong Min in total shock. Aaron gripped the spoon in his hand tightly and cried out, "Berrig, don't you dare tell me you're planning to give her those damn fish cakes your mother made." Berrig turned to Aaron in a huff. Meanwhile, Wong Min couldn't handle the shock and fell face first onto the floor, puking his guts out. Berrig shouted angrily, "What's wrong with the fish cakes?" "Back in my hometown in the Brighton Kingdom, they're famous." Aaron covered his mouth and said sarcastically, "The people there must have rotten noses and taste buds." Then he glanced at Berrig and continued with a look of annoyance, "No offense to your mother, but those damn fish cakes look exactly like oven-baked crap." Berrig grumbled dejectedly, "Captain, that's way out of line." Aaron immediately turned back to Wong Min and asked, "You all right now?" Wong Min stumbled back to his seat and replied, "Yeah." At the same time, a pair of feet quietly approached from behind. It was the black man from earlier. He moved in close behind Aaron and whispered the code, "The camellia flower never withers." As soon as he finished the sentence, a punch landed square on his face. Aaron coldly dragged him away, his body covered in injuries, and didn't forget to tell the others, "Guess that Scar guy is at it again. Anyway, good luck, Berrig. I'm out." Aaron dragged the man from the inn through every corner of the streets, before finally stopping at a certain spot. In front of him was a tough-looking thug, sitting there with a gleaming axe in his hand, surrounded by several henchmen. Seeing Aaron arrive, the man said smugly, "Welcome, friend. I've been waiting for you." He called himself the Shadow of Cassius City. Scar put on an angry face and continued, "Remember our oath. You're in the light, I'm in the dark. Together we rule Cassius. The moment that promise comes true is not far off." Aaron slowly approached him, his face full of rage, and his eyes glowing with a sharp light. His aura was incredibly powerful. In a low voice, he asked the man, "You got a death wish?" Then grabbing the man's head, he continued, "What's with all the yelling while I'm trying to eat, huh? And what's the deal with this damn hat?" He then turned to the others, staring them down, and asked, "Why are you all wearing the same hat? Is it a uniform or something?" While speaking, he snatched the hat right off Scar's head, making the man whine like a total loser. "My hat, give it back." Aaron glared down at him and said, "Nope. What you gonna do about it?" His henchmen confusedly took off their own hats, asking each other, "What the heck is a uniform?" At this moment, Aaron pinched Scar's ear, lifting him up as he cocked a fist, ready to strike while shouting, "You're just a neighborhood watch, but you're acting all shadow and light nonsense. I told you to stop playing these childish games." Terrified, Scar replied, wait, just hear me out first. "You remember what I wrote in that note the other day, right? The situation with those strangers coming to Casterrick lately is extremely suspicious." Hearing that Aaron finally began to pay attention, the man continued, "Exactly as I predicted. They've been meeting secretly every night, without letting us catch them. Something big is definitely about to happen. We need to be on high alert." Having heard enough of this boring talk, Aaron gave his ear a hard yank, making the man's tears and snot flow like a waterfall. Then he growled reproachfully, "Who do you think you are? The city guard will handle it. It's none of your business." Without a single wasted motion, he slammed him face down onto the ground, making him groan in pain. After taking a few seconds to calm down, Aaron asked him casually, "By the way, you haven't been showing up at the carpentry shop lately. Have you? Your dad Jackson is looking for you? Is everything okay?" The man looked up in a daze, thinking, "Wait, my dad's here." Driven by some kind of supernatural fear, he took off like a bolt of lightning along with his loyal lackeys. He didn't forget to shout back, "All right, see you later, man. Let's go, boys." Watching them walk away, Aaron couldn't help but sink into deep thought. With a worried look in his eyes, he muttered, "Is something really about to go down? Better to be safe than sorry." The scene shifts to a beautiful day. Standing in front of a house, Aaron gently raised his hand and knocked on the door. A voice from inside called out, "Who's there?" Aaron replied, "It's me." Opening the door was the executioner Dallas, and a young boy named Ted, his son. Seeing Aaron had come to visit, he greeted him. "Long time no see, Aaron." The little boy looked absolutely thrilled to see him. He kept gushing with admiration. "Whoa, your armor looks even cooler now." This made Aaron feel pretty smug, chuckling to himself with joy. Stepping inside, the room was filled with many tools neatly arranged. Aaron happily handed the boy an apple and said, "Here, have an apple." After looking around at the items in the house, Aaron thought to himself, "This family is as creepy as ever." Interrupting his train of thought, Dallas spoke up quickly. "My bad, please have a seat," Aaron replied. "No worries, the apples didn't cost me a dime anyway. The ladies at the market gave them to me." While pouring a cup of tea for Aaron, Dallas casually made conversation. "I heard all 6 of the death row inmates this time were caught by you. Supposedly they're members of the Lone Wolf organization in Kazan. Nice job." Aaron quickly replied it was just a coincidence. Looking at the innocent little Ted, Aaron added cheerfully, "Man, the kid's growing up so fast." Dallas chuckled and replied, "Right, kids these days grow like weeds. We'll be old before we know it." Then, Aaron held out a bag of gold coins to Dallas and said, "Oh, Nova told me to give this to you, saying it's the deposit for this mission. The Lord will be there too, so make sure to show off your best skills." Dallas nonchalantly replied, "All right. Tell her there's no need to worry." He glanced toward his son and said, "Oh, I'm planning to bring Ted along this time. He needs to start preparing. To take over the family business?" Making Aaron ask back in surprise, "Huh, is it already that time?" He then emphasized that a farmer's son grows up to be a farmer. An executioner's son grows up to be an executioner. That's just common sense. But handing down this despised profession to my son has always left me, full of regret. My wife even left me because of it. Just then, little Ted turned around happily and asked, "Does anyone want an apple?" But it seemed no one paid attention to what the kid said. Dallas continued to open up to Aaron. "Anyway, I've always been grateful to you. Unlike other people, you've always treated the two of us like equals." Aaron waved his hand and replied with a cheerful laugh, "Why wouldn't I get along with you? Aside from that damn panty thief, you're the only one I can actually talk to." Dallas then remembered something and continued, "I was really sorry to hear about Han. A hard-working guy like him ending up as a criminal." Aaron replied with a heavy heart. "Anyone can slip up and commit a crime. Hey, if I ever end up as a convict, be sure to take my head off nice and clean, okay?" Dallas jokingly replied, "Of course. I'll show you my absolute best technique." At the same time, little Ted came over to sit by them and chimed in, "If Aaron ever breaks the law in the future, I'll be the one to chop his head off." Aaron laughed out loud and told the boy, "Attaboy, that's the spirit." Then suddenly, Deleuze put on a dead serious face and said, "In that case, I'll see you at the execution block." The scene shifts to a street corner somewhere. It was now getting dark. A few men were sneakily discussing something. One guy, looking anxious, spoke up. "That Scar guy keeps tailing us, so it's real hard to move in secret. On top of that, the recent Kutan attack on the outskirts was an epic fail. It's about time we made a move." Donua cut him off quickly. "Shh, quiet. In a few days there'll be an execution at the square. We'll use that chance to take Lady Cassandra's heart." The henchman with the scar, by his mouth, nodded in agreement and replied, "Yes, my lord." Meanwhile, behind a crate, someone's foot gradually came into view. The lackey rushed over to check it out and said, "Is this guy sleeping or just straight up dead?" In his slumber, the heavy sleeper Cutter kept whining. "Just 5 more minutes?" The scene shifts to Caxer Square, the day of the execution. An ice-cold beer was steaming with frost, feeling incredibly refreshing in one's hands. Faces filled with wonder, marveling at the miracle of something that could only be called a luxury in this medieval era. Quite a few big spenders were dropping cash just to taste it one more time. Notably, a bald, middle-aged man shouted with a deep voice, "Not bad kid, mage. Give me another beer." Kana was exhausted, but deep down she was incredibly happy and hyped. Beside her at that moment, Henna was also non-stop peddling her new products. She held up a piece of bread slathered in syrup, constantly calling out to customers, Come on, everyone. We've got bread with strawberry jam, too. Try it along with some wine. Meanwhile, the long-haired guy, Huang Meng, was constantly complaining and whining. Damn it! Why do I have to be out here doing business like this? Kale wasn't idle either. He was busy handling cups while his eyes scanned the area restlessly. He spotted a guy who was up to no good. He shouted, "Hey, you over there! If you're thinking of stealing bread, you'd better watch out." Seeing the shop bustling with customers, Henna couldn't hide her joy and ran over to Aaron, whispering, "It's because Aaron suggested selling wine with jam bread that people are flocking here like this. Aaron, you're a total genius." Of course, Aaron wasn't one for flattery. He acted like he couldn't care less about her. Henna excitedly continued, "And Kana's cold beer is a huge hit, too. I knew my gut feeling was right." Aaron replied with a cold face, "Yeah, whatever." Then a stream of thoughts flashed through his head. It's called an associative advertising strategy, but even if I explained it, she wouldn't get it. These savages. They'd even dip their bread in a convict's blood and eat it for God's sake. Interrupting his train of thought, Henna suddenly asked, "But why did you adopt Kana, Aaron?" Aaron replied, "I just wanted to drink cold beer, that's all." She whipped her head toward him, and with a sarcastic smirk, she said, "I doubt that's the only reason, since you rarely ever care about anyone else." As if she'd read him like a book. Aaron was left speechless, only able to stare blankly at her. After a moment, Aaron looked downcast and told her, "Once I found a cat on the street and took it in. Because I thought I was a bit like it." Hearing such a touching story, Henna was a little moved. She didn't expect someone as dry and stoic as Aaron to do something like that. She blurted out, "Oh, wow! Aaron, you kept a cat." Meanwhile, in the distance, Bowman seemed to have a problem. With a grumpy face, he called out, "Captain?" Then he shouted with tears in his eyes, "Today's our day off. Why did we have to gather up?" "Don't tell me you really called everyone here just to sell bread and wine," Aaron replied solemnly. "Suspicious intelligence has been reported, so just treat this as a mission. And if you see anyone sketchy, report it immediately," he said, making Woman jump in a total panic. Right after that, he excitedly asked back, "An ambush mission?" Aaron continued, "But why is it just you and me here? Where's everyone else?" Woman pointed into the distance and said, "Oh, IG is talking to Charlotte over there, and Kale is probably with Yausa. As for that lazy bones cutter, he's likely still sleeping in," heading toward the jail cells, where iron bars and torches were lit up brightly. Aaron was strolling along when he suddenly ran into little Ted, just up ahead. He hurried over and asked, "What are you doing here?" Ted jumped and turned around. He smiled and said, "Oh, it's you, Aaron." Aaron smiled warmly and asked the boy, "What are you up to in a place like this?" Ted quickly replied, "The customers seem really anxious, so I just came to reassure them." Then the kid turned to look at the people, shaking like a leaf from fear, and said, "Don't worry, folks. My dad has chopped off over 100 heads, so he'll send you on your way in a heartbeat. It won't hurt, so don't be scared." Aaron patted the kid's head and chuckled, "Well, aren't you a kind one?" Suddenly, a death row inmate violently lunged toward the two of them, his face full of resentment, screaming something. But he was gagged, so nothing could be heard. At that moment, little Ted hid behind Aaron's back in fear. Aaron looked down at the man and teased him smugly. "Come again. What are you saying? I can't understand a word you're saying." Immediately, he pulled out a ring of keys and held them up. With a creepy grin, he continued, "Enough games. It's time, let's go chop some heads off." By now, the sun had reached its peak, with rays of light shining intensely. The prisoner was escorted up, kneeling down before a wooden block. The executioner brandished the axe in his hand, getting ready in a striking stance. Wearing a hood that covered half his head, his face was cold and determined. Without a single wasted motion, he swung hard at the prisoner's neck, with incredible speed and power. Then came the scene of the head rolling and blood spraying. At the same time, the crowd erupted into continuous ecstatic cheers. Aaron quietly led another person in red, slowly toward the chopping block. Suddenly, he thought to himself gloomily, "They say that medieval executions were a kind of political festival, meant to soothe the pent-up violence of the people, and for the ruling class to flex their power and authority. And this event is even more critical than usual. The criminals we caught murdered a noble from Kazan. Since the Lord is trying to build a friendly relationship with Kazan, you could say that this execution is actually a diplomatic event. No room for any slip-ups." Then he saw something in the crowd that took Aaron completely by surprise. A stranger dressed entirely in black was acting very suspicious. Catching a clear glimpse of that face made Aaron jump. He wondered, what the hell is he doing here? Right after that, a massive explosion went off behind the buildings, sending everyone into a total panic. People were screaming their heads off. What happened? Was that an explosive? While they were still in shock, another explosion rocked the area, causing the crowd to scatter like a disturbed beehive. Chaotic shouting filled the air. "Run, ah!" Aaron, looking absolutely livid, with his eyes glowing a stark white, cursed under his breath repeatedly. "Damn it, we're under attack!" Inside that explosion, a familiar figure, a powerful man of the Empire, was slowly being swallowed by a sea of flames. Urgent shouts rang out everywhere. "Lord Funpoot, he's about to kick the bucket." Standing on the execution grounds, Aaron thought to himself, "Funpoot, I've long thought you looked like a bird, and now you're actually about to fly off to heaven. I guess your face really does reflect your soul." Down below, Berrig and Woman were acting completely frantic, looking at each other as they remembered something. Aaron thought anxiously, "Wait, if the Lord dies here, so does the neck of the guard in charge of Order Me." Meanwhile, Dallas didn't panic or run away. He calmly swung his axe and beheaded the prisoner in red, causing Aaron to whip around in shock. With a look of pure awe, he said, "Impressive Dallas. Even in a situation like this, you can still get the job done. Now that is one talented executioner." Dallas reached up, wiped the remaining blood from his beard, and replied with a hearty laugh, "I'm just doing my job as an officer of the law." Aaron gave a thin smile and remarked, "Is that so? Then I'd better do my job too, as the captain of the guard." With that, he bolted toward the sea of fire. The citizens were still in a state of chaos, running for their lives. Everyone wanted to escape as fast as possible, to save their own skins. It was a truly terrifying scene. Woman and Pun stood on a high vantage point, trying their best to calm everyone down. "Everyone please calm down." "Hey, you jerk! I told you not to run, the kids are gonna get hurt." Henna held Kana tightly, comforting her. "It's okay. It'll be all right, Barry." Ige and his girlfriend, H, were also trying to reduce the panic. "Everyone please move slowly over that way." "Hey you stole that bread, didn't you? Where do you think you're going?" Aaron also managed to rescue 2 lost children just in time. His parents were carrying them in their arms and headed toward Henna's stall, handing the children over to Kale and Berrig. Aaron, looking extremely urgent, quickly asked, "Is everyone gathered here? Did anyone see a suspicious person?" Berrig replied in surprise, "A suspicious person?" Aaron explained. "That's right, a guy wearing a hooded cloak." Kale thought for a moment and then answered, "I don't know, but it doesn't look like I've seen anyone like that." Berrig added, "Me neither." Meanwhile, the suspect, Donua, had captured the daughter of the Funpoot family and was quietly slipping away. Aaron seemed to realize what was happening. He immediately called out to assemble the 4 outer city guards and told them, "We're going to hunt down that criminal no matter what. If we don't catch him, the ones on the execution block next time will be us." In a flash, Aaron vanished from his spot and dashed forward, leaving his squad staring in disbelief. Then they began a thorough search of every nook and cranny. By this time, it was starting to get dark. Holding an oil lamp in his hand, Wang Min kept asking, "Where on earth could he have hidden? We've been turning this place upside down since noon. Remember when we chased that guy Han? What if this ends up being a total bust like last time?" Aaron turned back to scold her. "Stop jinxing us. But anyway, it's lucky that the Lord is still alive. Gotta hand it to him, he's a tough old bird. But I heard a knight was killed in that explosion. Honestly, those knights aren't exactly reliable anyway." Just then, the 2 of them walked past something in the corner of a wall. Aaron felt something was off, turned around, and exclaimed, "Looks like we've found ourselves. Another unreliable knight right here." Ben was lying sprawled out, leaning against the wall, covered in wounds. Seeing Aaron, he gave a faint smile and greeted him. "Long time no see." Woman hurriedly asked, "Did you get ambushed?" Ben forced a laugh and replied, "That was so embarrassing." Aaron pulled a bottle of healing potion from his gear. He opened the cap while mocking him. "What's up lately? Why do I see you getting beat up every single day? Are you really supposed to be a knight?" Ben whined and whimpered in response. "I let my guard down. That criminal is a dark mage." Meanwhile, Aaron poured the potion onto the wounds to treat Ben. Then Ben suddenly looked up at Aaron and stated firmly, "There's a traitor among our soldiers. Be careful." Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream rang out, startling all 3 of them. They turned toward the sound, and Wang Min, recognizing the voice, told Aaron, "Captain, that's Kale's voice." Over by Kale, he and Berrig were being pummeled by some big green guy. They lay on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. The green man with bloodshot eyes wasn't about to stop. He continued toward the 2 of them, taunting, "Why are you shaking so much? You only took 1 hit. Why the hell are you making such a racket?" Kale, clutching his swollen face, wagged his finger arrogantly and told him, Could you wait a second? There's something worth waiting for." The green man asked back irritably, "What the hell do you mean?" The moment he finished speaking, the wall next to him exploded, sending bricks and stones flying everywhere. Kale laughed triumphantly. "Oh, he's here. Guess your hearing is pretty sharp, huh?" Then Aaron's fierce voice rang out. "This construction is shittier than I thought. One little push and it crumbles like tofu." At that moment, his hand reached out and grabbed the green man firmly by the throat, making him growl and groan in frustration. Aaron's expression went dark, his eyes turning white with a glowing red aura of bloodlust. As his hand slowly lifted, the green man into the air with terrifying strength. The green man was so enraged his whole body was shaking. Veins popped out all over his body from the lack of oxygen. Drool was leaking all over his mouth. He thought to himself, "What is this? What kind of freakish monster is this guy?" Seeing him constantly grimacing, our Aaron put on a sarcastic face again, looked up at him and said, "Why are you such a weakling? And here I thought an emissary would be a big deal. The monsters I've fought outside the city walls were on a whole different level than you." At that moment, the man clutched Aaron's hand, begging for mercy. Seeing that he was about to snap, Aaron let go and released him, making him collapse to the ground in total agony. Then Aaron began the interrogation. "Hey, what do you know? If you know anything, spill it right now. Otherwise, you're dead meat." He quickly looked up and answered, "It's the Dark Mage. He's targeting the young lady's heart. For real, he's a total scumbag." Aaron exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, for real?" Kyle stood there snickering, mocking him. "That survival instinct is no joke. Pretty honest, aren't we?" The green man frantically confessed further. "That servant made a contract with monsters through the Dark Mage. Oh, and our base is in the lawless city of Tuluma." Seeing him rambling on, Aaron barked at him. "Shut it. Basically, it's like hiring demons to do the dirty work. But why does he need the lady's heart?" He raised his hand, rubbed his bald head for a moment, then replied, I'm not too sure about that. I seriously don't know. Please believe me." Seeing his sincere look, Aaron waved his hand and said, "All right, I get it. Anyway, you were a good boy, so I'll let you off the hook this time. Take him away, guys." Hearing Aaron say that made him look overjoyed, and he cried out, "Thank you. Thank you so much." As they were leading him away, Wang Min told him, "You made the right call, Greenie." He turned to Wang Min, gave a goofy grin, and said, "Man, I almost kicked the bucket there." Seeing that everyone had left, Aaron stood there, pensive, resting his chin on his hand in deep thought. So that means that guy is a dark mage, and his goons are causing all this chaos. But seriously, what is the young lady's deal anyway? Suddenly, a voice called out from the shadows. "Captain, are you here?" Hearing his name, Aaron quickly turned around. As he stepped closer, it turned out to be Cutter. He smiled and continued, having a good night. Meanwhile, he kept both hands behind his back, as if hiding something. Aaron was surprised to see it was Cutter and asked, "Don't tell me you just woke up. Stop oversleeping or you're gonna make yourself sick." Cutter replied, "Oh, come on, Captain. How am I supposed to control that?" Then Cutter leaned in close to Aaron and said, "Do you have any idea, Captain, just how painful sleep deprivation can be?" He then let out a twisted, creepy smile and continued, "Without enough sleep, you just can't stay sharp. Everything feels like a total blur. It's like I'm wandering through a dream, or like my head is filled with fog." At that same moment, he slowly drew the sword hidden behind his back from its sheath. He swiftly swung it with a ferocious look on his face. He slashed toward Aaron and said, "Let me send you into a dream that you'll never have to wake up from for the rest of your life." But Aaron isn't exactly just some average Joe. Fast as lightning, he drew his sword and blocked Cutter's attack. At this point, Cutter seemed to have lost all humanity. His eyes were filled with an eerie, mystical smoke that kept pouring out. Cutter then began telling his story to Aaron. "When I was a kid, a famine hit my village. With nothing to eat, I had to chew on raw tree roots, rats and cockroaches. Then one day meat suddenly appeared on the table. It had been ages since my family had eaten meat, so everyone dug in and enjoyed it, except for my little brother. He was naturally very weak and couldn't help with any work. Since that day, I haven't been able to sleep soundly even once. Next time, will they eat the meat without a prescription? Honestly, I was always living in constant fear." Aaron quickly cut him off. "It feels like you've told this story 1,000,000 times already." Cutter immediately took a step back, looked up with a smirk, and said to Aaron, "See, I'm pretty strong, aren't I? It's definitely because I've been sleeping well that I'm like this, huh? It's all thanks to the candy Donua gave me." Aaron looked at the man who was once his brother in arms, thinking to himself that he had received power from a demon. His strength and agility had skyrocketed. At that moment, Cutter looked up to the sky with a haughty, defiant gaze. "Aaron, here I come, Captain!" While Cutter was aggressively charging forward with murderous intent, Aaron thought to himself, "Now that I think about it, this guy never had any formal training, but he has a natural talent for fighting." Right after that, Aaron let out an amused smile. By now, Cutter's blade was already lunging toward him. Aaron calmly pivoted to the side, dodging a lethal thrust. This made Cutter absolutely livid. He gnashed his teeth, veins bulging visibly across his face. Meanwhile, Aaron was laughing gloatingly. This wall doesn't look sturdy at all. Looks like it was a total hack job. Driven mad with rage, Cutter immediately summoned demonic power. His hands gradually turned a deep purple, as black smoke flared up around them. He looked truly eerie, with a face that looked exactly like a demon's. He wound up that sinister fist, putting all his might into a straight punch. Aaron then said, "I often toss and turn at night too, so I'll forgive you." At the same time, Aaron dropped his stance to dodge Cutter's powerful punch, then raised his sword, preparing for a counterattack. Immediately, he plunged the sword deep, burying the hilt into Cutter's body. Then he said, "So please forgive me too." Cutter forced a smile. Then, drops of blood began to trickle from his mouth. He whispered faintly, "Brother, I'm so sleepy." Then he collapsed onto Aaron's shoulder. Aaron spoke sorrowfully, "Rest well, Cutter." At the same time, another massive explosion occurred inside. "This one last time, I'll sing you the most beautiful lullaby of all." The scene shifts to the crawl space through which Aaron had let Handy escape before. Now the corpses of soldiers lay scattered, all over the ground. Fires were burning relentlessly everywhere. This must have been the source of the recent explosion. Outside the city walls, Donua was standing there panting heavily, next to the unconscious young lady on the ground. He turned back toward that crawl space, cursing in frustration. "Those damn bastards. They're so persistent. I can't believe I had to squeeze through that dog hole." Then he broke into a twisted smile and continued. "But it's worth it, because I've finally caught the one loved by Mana. Now all I have to do is rip out her heart and eat it." He immediately raised his gleaming knife, ready to plunge it into the young lady. Suddenly a voice rang out, stopping him dead in his tracks. "There you are. How did you find this place? Did Cutter snitch on me?" At that same moment, he spun around. Aaron approached him and said with a calm expression, "Let's have a little chat, buddy." He let out a contemptuous laugh and replied, "Look who it is. I thought it was some knight chasing me." Then he smugly rolled up his sleeves, revealing clusters of grotesque fleshy growths, oozing horrific black droplets. Then he summoned two monsters glowing with a red, murderous aura. They snarled at Aaron as Donua said arrogantly, "Turns out it's just a low-level guard captain." And immediately, he ordered the two beasts to charge and attack Aaron. But Aaron remained incredibly calm. He slowly drew his sword, swung it in one clean motion, and sliced through the murky black aura in front of him. The man extended his hand, commanding the wolf to leap into an attack. In a flash, it bit down on Aaron's arm, causing blood to seep from the wound. Angered, Aaron flung his arm back forcefully, sending droplets of blood splattering everywhere. Looking at the wound on his arm, Aaron wondered, "Damn, is this a curse spell?" His body felt heavy, and every movement was agonizing. If this drags on, he'll be at a serious disadvantage. Thinking quickly, he shook out his arm to regain some feeling. Meanwhile, Donua was feeling absolutely triumphant. He began mockingly taunting Aaron. "You're all brawn, but no bite, nothing to fear. But can you handle the shadow army of Karina Theo?" Aaron chuckled and said to him, "What is this, a petting zoo? Calling this a legion seems a bit like a reach, doesn't it?" He laughed gloatingly. "Oh, you arrogant piece of work." Right away, he ordered both beasts to launch a simultaneous attack. Aaron said to him with a hint of surprise, "By the book, I'm supposed to take you in alive. But you had the nerve to deceive my subordinate just to sell his soul to a demon. You are absolutely unforgivable." Immediately after, Aaron leapt forward, aiming his blade at the beast, slashing wildly from left to right, and from top to bottom. He finished with a perfect landing, striking an incredibly cool pose. Donua snarled in a blind rage, seeing stars, as he brought his hands together to manifest a sinister magic circle. With an eerie tone, he chanted, "He who is crushed under the weight of punishment is indeed a sinner." The circle then began to grow larger and larger, lashing out at Aaron. At this moment, his limbs were gripped tight by eerie, supernatural forces as a monster slowly grew, coiling itself tightly around Aaron's body, causing him to cry out in absolute agony. Donua wasn't about to stop there. With his hands, he continued to manipulate the beast, then explained with gloating satisfaction, "How's that this is a triple curse that even a knight would find impossible to escape. Now turn into mincemeat." Suddenly, in a flash, Aaron swung his sword, hacking the monster clean in half. He looked up and said with total swagger, "What was that about knights? I didn't quite catch that. Why don't you say it again?" Then Aaron unleashed his demonic aura power. Streaks of light crackled and popped as he moved with God-tier speed straight for Donua. With zero wasted motion, He took the guy's head off in a heartbeat. Then he slowly sheathed his sword, whispering to Cutter's soul. Finally, it's quiet. Sleep tight, Cutter. Just when it seemed like it was all over, the severed head suddenly broke into a grin. Eerie smoke began to pour from the mouth, forming a magic circle that surrounded the head. Sensing the danger, Aaron immediately panicked and spun around to look at the sinister phenomenon. He realized it was a post-mortem trigger spell. Damn it, a pain in the neck even in death. These demon worshippers are the worst. He rushed over to where the young lady lay and gently picked her up in his arms.